He was once hailed as the world's apex predator, but during the ultimate raid, destiny took a dark turn. Backstabbed by those he trusted, Subaru used his final sparks of life to teleport his comrades to safety. Even as his heartbeat faded, the reality set in. He was dying. This was Subaru, legendary master of Blue Eyes. Their mission: to conquer the 8th floor's terrifying boss, alongside the most prestigious guilds in existence. In the heat of battle, Blue Eyes outshone everyone. Their synergy was a masterpiece forged through years of climbing. But in a split second, chaos erupted. Their rear support unit was hit by a lethal, unexpected ambush. Subaru realized the trap instantly, but the web was already spun. A lethal hydrovenom was already coursing through him. His team was paralyzed by the toxic strike, yet they fought like demons to bring the beast down. Victory was theirs, but it was short-lived. Their allies immediately turned their blades on the exhausted heroes. Blood stained the floor as Blue Eyes fell. Subaru stood gasping, his iconic mask shattered and his strength failing. Pinned against the cold stone, his body was a pincushion of blades. Darkness began creeping into his vision. He surveyed the battlefield through blurred eyes. Everywhere he looked, the bodies of his loyal friends lay cold. For a man who began his journey as a lone wolf, these comrades were the only family he had. But the poison was absolute, negating his healing. His fatigue meter screamed at a critical 95%. At this level, his body was failing. His resistance was gone, and the system was preparing to shut down. Once that meter hits 100, it's game over. Subaru locked eyes with the vulture circling him. His gaze burned with icy fury as he stared down the leader of the traitors. "Why, you absolute bastard!" He spat, his voice trembling with raw, unbridled rage. Facing him was Itsuki, the master of Blue Zone, a man Subaru once considered his closest brother in arms. Itsuki leaned in, whispering coldly, 10 years, Subaru. I've spent a whole decade planning your downfall." He looked like a man finally tasting a long-awaited victory. Itsuki's ego began to spill out. "You were too perfect," he continued. "Even your pathetic friends put up more of a fight than I expected. You thought your charity helped me? It was a constant reminder of how much I hated being in your shadow. I chose the world over you." Itsuki lied, masking his true motives behind a fake relieved smile. "Don't take it personally, old friend. I've finally reached the finish line I've always dreamed of." "Die knowing you'll be remembered as a hero. Isn't that enough for you?" Itsuki sneered. Subaru exhaled a ragged breath, forcing his shattered body to stand one last time. The betrayal stung deeper than any blade. Blue Zone was supposed to be their eternal shield. Itsuki had even named his guild as a tribute to their bond. Subaru had trusted him with his life. Now that bond was shredded. Despite the venom and the gaping wounds, Subaru's aura refused to dim. He was a walking corpse, yet he still radiated the terrifying presence of the world's strongest player. Noticing a flicker of fear in Itsuki's eyes, Subaru saw his one and only opening. In a blur of motion, he pulled a legendary fan-shaped relic from his inventory. Itsuki's face turned pale. "The Iolo's fan." Itsuki gasped. Subaru gripped the handle, feeling the last 4 charges hum with power. Mana began to swirl as he charged the artifact. He wished they could have all survived this nightmare together. But with only 4 survivors left, he had to act. "Iolos, blow them away!" he roared. A massive hurricane erupted, sweeping his 4 remaining friends into the sky and away from the slaughter. It was a reckless gamble with their lives, but it was the only hope they had left. "After them, don't let a single one escape!" Itsuki screamed, his composure completely shattered. The traitorous alliance surged forward to hunt the survivors, but a booming voice stopped them cold. "Not so fast. You still have to deal with me," Subaru challenged, blocking their path. The game wasn't over. Even with his fatigue meter hitting the red zone, his spirit remained unbroken. His ultimate skill's duration was ticking away, but he didn't care. He was burning his very soul for power. "Lord of Lightning, descend!" he yelled. A crackle of obsidian lightning tore through the ceiling. The dark bolt struck him directly, though its small scale hinted at his fading life force. Long ago, this single move would have engulfed the entire world in a blinding storm of lightning. Subaru once more took a combat stance, his hand gripping the spear still buried deep in his gut. He viciously ripped the steel from his mangled flesh, ignoring the agony of his shredded organs. Blood sprayed as white-hot pain surged, triggering a critical fatigue warning. Yet this stolen spear was weapon enough. He leveled the blood-stained tip toward his foes, his voice ringing out as cold as a frozen blade. Casting aside his mask, Subaru revealed a gaze that burned with an unquenchable and lethal fighting spirit. Using the very weapon that had pierced him, he charged forward to begin his final tragic symphony of war. Subaru ignited every last drop of his soul in this desperate clash, yet enemy players swarmed like a tide. These bottom-tier trash meant nothing to him. The real killer was his exhaustion creeping closer with every heartbeat. Life or death mattered little as long as Itsuki breathed his last, but with fatigue at 97 he needed an opening. An assassin struck from the shadows, but Subaru didn't even flinch, welcoming the blade with his bare chest. His fatigue spiked to 98. Suddenly another warrior lunged forward, thrusting a sword with lethal intent. Again he let the steel bite deep. Seeing him falter, the greedy pack swarmed in to claim the killing blow. The swordsman screamed in triumph, certain he had ended the legend. But Subaru only looked up with a haunting smirk. "What are you talking about?" he whispered, his eyes dancing with a terrifying and dark mirth. Before the words faded, violent black lightning exploded, incinerating the surrounding mob in a chaotic burst of shadows. He grabbed the sword embedded in his ribs' teeth bared as he slowly forced the metal out inch by inch. No one dared move. They retreated, whispering in a mix of pure terror and morbid anticipation. "Is this monster finally falling?" they wondered. Itsuki watched the carnage, his gaze chillingly detached. "So Subaru, is this how your glorious era finally crumbles into dust?" Itsuki thought to himself. Subaru's fatigue hit the red line. The slightest movement now promised to push him past the point of no return. But his warrior's pride, etched into his very bones, refused to let him kneel before these cowards. In one final explosive surge, he gathered his remaining life force and locked his sights onto Itsuki. Channeling every ounce of strength, he hurled the spear with enough savage power to shatter the heavens. Itsuki looked at the Archangel's blessing in his hand and sighed. What a tragic waste of a life. Subaru had gifted him that item before the Hydra raid. It was a miracle cure for max exhaustion. Had he kept it, Subaru would be the one standing now. The spear shrieked through the air toward Itsuki. But fate is a cruel mistress. As the weapon flew, Subaru's fatigue finally reached 100. His vision faded to gray, his consciousness snapping before he could witness his enemy's end. Death had claimed him, yet something was wrong. His mind was still spinning, though his body felt like nothingness. The hyper-focused senses of a warrior had vanished, leaving him drifting in a silent and endless void. After an eternity of darkness, a sharp and disgusting stench invaded his nostrils, jolting him back to reality. Sensation flooded his limbs as he fought to open his eyes. He shoved upward, knocking a heavy lid aside. With a loud clang, he realized his surroundings. He was not in a tomb, but a filthy garbage bin. Confused by this strange revival, he immediately summoned his status window to assess the damage. 61 points of fatigue did not bother him. It was the pathetic level and attributes that made him freeze. The legendary skills he had bled for were gone, replaced by laughable stats that belonged to a weakling. A sudden agonizing headache tore through his mind. Subaru gripped his head, drowning in a flood of foreign memories. These weren't his experiences. They belonged to a pitiful orphan who had lived a life of misery. This boy was a street beggar shunned by society and starving since the day his parents died. Because he shared a name with the legendary blue-eyed hero Subaru, he had been bullied every single day. But the real shock came next. 20 years had passed since Subaru's death. He had been gone for 2 decades. A reflection on the dumpster lid showed a youthful face with black hair and gentle features. A total stranger. Unable to process the impossible, he forced his frail new body to climb out of the trash. But this body was weak and unfamiliar. The moment he touched the ground, his legs gave out completely. In that moment, a discarded player kit caught his eye. Subaru snatched it up, realizing it. Likely fell from the owner's pocket before they were trashed, though the interface felt alien. Compared to his old gear, muscle memory took over. He expertly bypassed the lock, scouring the system for blue eyes. Once he hit enter, headlines flooded the screen. Subaru scanned the data desperate for hope, yet no record of his surviving comrades appeared anywhere. Then Subaru's blood ran cold as his eyes locked onto a familiar face. That traitor Itsuki was still drawing breath. Long ago their bond had been unbreakable, forged in the fires of battle. Climbing the tower meant trusting your life to the person beside you. Subaru called him a brother, but then Itsuki abruptly vanished from Blue Eyes without warning. He offered no explanation, only a cryptic promise to remain in Subaru's shadow forever. Years later, that shadow manifested as the powerful Blue Zone Guild Itsuki's personal empire. Reeling from the truth, Subaru roamed the modern streets. He'd expected the tower to be conquered after 20 years, yet humanity was still pathetically stuck on the 9th floor. He stopped dead as a shocking notification flashed across the player kit's screen. Today was the anniversary of his own death. The world was mourning blue-eyed Subaru. They'd even built a massive shrine. Driven by morbid curiosity, he followed the digital map. He stood before the Subaru Memorial Hall, paralyzed by the sheer overwhelming scale of it. At the entrance, a gargantuan replica of his signature mask loomed over the visitors. Subaru stepped inside, greeted by giant screens playing cinematic highlights of his past battles. A dense crowd cheered for the hero, but Subaru felt only a hollow, bitter chill. He couldn't grasp why they worshipped him. He felt like a total stranger to himself. Only his name remained familiar. He wondered who turned his life into this grotesque spectacle. Fury sparked in his chest as the video reached its climax. Then a voice spoke. It was a sound etched into his soul, belonging to the man he hated most. There was Itsuki on screen wearing a mask of grief, while spouting fake flowery praise. Subaru's hands shook with lethal intent. The audacity of this performance was truly sickening. In a flash, he realized the dark purpose behind this shrine and the propaganda. Itsuki had once promised to make him a legend. Now he was collecting the profits. Subaru was the face of Blue Eyes. Blue Zone was just a parasite feeding off his legacy. They needed his saintly image to mask their own shady ascent to power. Dead men tell no tales, making them the perfect puppets for Itsuki's grand scheme. Suddenly, a small impact jolted him back to reality. Subaru spun around quickly. A small child had tripped and tumbled onto the hard floor right behind him. He instinctively reached out to help, but then he saw the child's face and froze. The boy was wearing a perfect replica of the blue-eyed Subaru mask. The parents hurried over, apologizing profusely for their son's clumsy mistake. Subaru reassured them, but as he looked at them, his breath hitched in his throat. Both parents were wearing the same mask. He was surrounded by his own ghost. He scanned the room, unable to believe the surreal nightmare unfolding before his eyes. Every single person in the hall was a faceless version of his former self. It was a sea of blue masks surrounding mountains of his old relics and gear. Disgusted, he pushed deeper into the shrine, searching for a way out of this farce. Then he saw it. A massive portrait of himself drowning under a sea of flowers. Was this genuine love or just a calculated performance orchestrated by that snake Itsuki? A show to steal his glory. Just then, something hidden among the flowers caught Subaru's eye. A familiar pulse of mana struck him. Hidden within the blossoms lay a crystalline, frozen flower. Its ethereal beauty felt impossible. Without hesitation, he plunged into the thick crowd, sprinting toward it. He shoved the bypassers aside, ignoring their angry shouts. Subaru's only focus was reaching that pile of flowers. Reaching out with trembling hands, he touched it. Instantly, a lethal frost surged through his fingertips. His body froze as the cold bit deep. It was a chrysanthemum masterfully sculpted from pure ice. His eyes widened in shock. This craftsmanship belonged to Shu. Meanwhile, a figure watched from the clock tower. An elder gazed down at the hall below, ensuring the ceremony proceeded without any chaotic disruptions. A robed woman appeared behind him, whispering that they had arrived just in time to avoid conflict. Any delay would have sparked a bloodbath with the Blue Zone. Still, she questioned the necessity of his gift. Was an ice flower truly needed? The old man chuckled softly while slowly removing his hat. Perhaps if he truly survived, he'll recognize the mark I left behind, he mused with a smirk. Suddenly, his weathered skin fractured and peeled away, unveiling the youthful features hidden beneath the mask. It was Asagi Shu, the legendary Blue Eyes member who supposedly perished 20 years ago. The woman asked if he still believed Subaru lived. Shu nodded calmly. He never witnessed a corpse. This annual pilgrimage was his only hope, yet the woman warned that their target remained missing. Itsuki's forces were closing in on them. Shu ignored her warnings, walking past her with cold determination. Staring at his retreating figure, she cried out that their hiding wouldn't be necessary if he were alive. She sighed internally, realizing her attempts to reason with him had failed once again this year. As sunset painted the sky, Subaru concluded his fruitless hours-long search around the memorial grounds. Shu was nowhere to be found. Defeated for now, he retreated toward the original owner's dormitory. Once inside his room, he composed himself and began analyzing his current predicament. His relentless hunt for Blue Eye's guild intel had yielded nothing but dead ends until now. Despite the lack of data, Shu's survival was now an undeniable reality that changed everything. Evading detection for 20 years was a feat he never imagined possible for his old comrade. Itsuki's obsession with silencing witnesses made Shu's survival even more miraculous and dangerous. Was Shu the sole survivor? He still didn't know if the others escaped the past disaster. The fate of those caught in Io's explosion remained a mystery, but one certainty burned in his heart. Beyond his vengeance against Itsuki and the guilds, a new purpose fueled his drive to ascend. His surrogate family was gone, yet he alone had been granted a second chance in this wretched world. The crushing solitude and searing rage were slowly forged into a single sharp focus. His current struggles mattered little compared to the hope that his friends were still breathing somewhere. If they lived, destiny would eventually pull them back together for a final reunion. The tutorial day arrived. A massive white arena stretched out, looking like several stadiums merged together. Hugo, the tutorial examiner, stood with crossed arms, staring down at a pathetic participant. Below him lay the broken bodies of 2 low-rank goblins and a gasping, defeated rookie. Despite the easy victory, the boy was exhausted. Disgusted, Hugo asked if he dared continue. A system notification appeared offering the choice to advance to the next deadly stage. Every new level added another monster, promising greater rewards for those who survived the onslaught. The rookie's face drained of color. 2 goblins nearly killed him. 3 would be his certain end. He forfeited immediately, his body dissolving into white light. Hugo watched with pure contempt. He loathed such weaklings. His mind wandered back to a legendary contestant from the past. Isaac Reinhardt's heir had shown terrifying talent, far surpassing his prestigious bloodline's expectations. That boy had slaughtered over 20 goblins before stopping. Hugo sneered at the current generation. "This year's crop is pathetic," he muttered, but his eyes widened at the next name on the list. A name familiar to everyone appeared. Even the stoic examiner felt a jolt of genuine surprise. Hugo looked at the boy, remembering the hero he once idolized. Instead of hope, he felt a wave of exhaustion. He let out a heavy sigh. That name was a heavy burden for any child to carry. Comparison to the legendary Subaru was inevitable, especially with that signature blade. But first he had to survive. Suddenly, a system alert flashed before Subaru's eyes. 2 goblins were spawning for the trial. The monsters appeared clutching venomous spikes and screeching like rabid monkeys. As the creatures lunged, Hugo shouted the start command. In a heartbeat, Subaru blurred forward. A silver arc sliced the air before anyone could blink. 2 heads tumbled to the ground instantly. The fight was over before it even began. Hugo's jaw dropped in pure disbelief. He whipped his head toward the boy who shared that legendary name. For 2 days, Subaru had been refining his new body's instincts. The original owner possessed incredible latent talent. It just needed the right soul to awaken it. The first wave fell. As the next stage notification appeared, Subaru didn't hesitate. Like a man possessed, he hit continue. He had been waiting for this moment. Hugo stood frozen as the carnage unfolded. A severed goblin head rolled to his boots. He tried to keep count of the kills, but the numbers quickly spiraled out of control. Normally, the arena clears after a round, but Subaru never stopped, so the bodies remained. Corpses piled into a mountain of meat, leaving barely an inch of floor visible in the arena. Hugo watched every strike mesmerized. He couldn't risk looking away for even a fraction of a second. This boy was a monster. He wasn't just swinging a sword. He was executing a masterpiece. He was reading the flow of battle 3 moves ahead. This wasn't just skill. It was pure genius. Even Huga couldn't match that level of perfect physical control. It was otherworldly. He lacked magic like Isaac, and didn't have insane strength, yet he was untouchable. Facing 50 goblins at once, his presence remained absolute. Huga's skin crawled with excitement. Was this kid truly the legend reincarnated? How could a human move with such lethal grace? Finally, the last goblin fell. A final message flickered. Stage 49 complete. Final boss incoming. Clearing this would mean legendary rewards. Stage 50 was the ultimate test for any beginner. Without a moment's doubt, Subaru pressed on. He was ready for the finale. Instantly, a crushing pressure flooded the room. The ground shattered under the weight of an ancient power. A massive gnarled hand erupted from the depths. Huga went pale as the nightmare emerged. A 2-meter-tall pig-headed monstrosity stood before Subaru, its bloated body oozing malice. The system warned. The Goblin King is enraged by the slaughter of its kin. "Give up now!" Huga screamed. "You've proven your strength, but this thing is on another level. Your current stats are too low. You can't even scratch its hide. Your blade will probably shatter against that monster's skin." Subaru knew this boss wasn't meant for a tutorial, but he had a secret weapon in mind. Suddenly, Subaru tossed his sword aside. Huga's heart nearly stopped. "Have you lost your mind?" he roared. He thought the boy had finally cracked under pressure. But before he could finish his rant, the Goblin King let out a world-shaking roar. The beast charged like a runaway train, the wind pressure alone enough to crush a normal man. Suddenly, a poison needle hissed through the air and pierced the king's massive thigh. The monster froze in shock. Subaru stood calmly amidst the corpses, scavenging for more ammo. He plucked several more venomous needles from the dead, his eyes cold and piercing. "Let's play a game," he whispered, his voice dripping with lethal intent. "Will you catch me first, or will I turn you into a pincushion?" With a flick of his wrist, 2 more needles tore through the air like guided missiles. Direct hit. The Goblin King clutched his face, letting out a gut-wrenching shriek of pure agony as his world went dark. He swung his massive hammer in a blind rage, but it was useless. A crippled, blinded beast stood no chance now. Subaru maintained the perfect distance with surgical precision. He danced around the king, widening the gap with expert ease. He reached into the pile of corpses, pulling out more poison needles. He readied them between his fingers, focused and calm. Memories of his grueling knife-throwing practice flashed back. Those bitter days of endless effort were finally paying off right now. At the start, his aim was pathetic, always missing the mark. But then Reina had appeared, watching his struggle with interest. She was a master of hidden weapons, a true expert. Without hesitation, she stepped in to show him real technique. Picking up a simple pen, she took a casual stance. There was no effort in her movement, just pure, deadly grace. In a blur, the pen flew, piercing the bullseye with lethal accuracy. She looked at him calmly and gave him one tip. Master the center of gravity and any object becomes a deadly weapon. Now those words guided Subaru's every single throw. The poison needles sank into the monster's flesh exactly as planned. Subaru was methodically dismantling the king piece by piece. Each needle targeted a vital point, spreading toxin through the king's veins. He knew the secret to hidden weapons was simple. It is all about rotational force and decisive action. Hesitation ruins accuracy. That was the core of her combat theory. Through her teachings, Subaru had finally mastered the art. Watching this, Hugo finally let out a massive sigh of relief. The tutorial hadn't ended yet, so the resources remained. He never imagined someone could exploit the system's rules so perfectly. Slaughtering goblins with a sword was one thing, but this, using hidden weapons with such terrifying precision, was another level entirely. This kid is a total genius. Noah's genius even enough. The Goblin King's legendary vitality was fading fast now. Hundreds of poison needles were now embedded in its massive body. A single prick wasn't fatal, but this was lethal. The sheer volume of poison was overwhelming the beast's system. Subaru moved in, picking up his discarded blade from the floor. He stepped forward toward the dying monarch with cold determination. He aimed straight for the throat, delivering a final thrust. The steel bit deep-ending the king's struggle once and for all. Paralyzed by poison, the monster died the instant it hit. The Goblin King collapsed dead before he hit the cold ground. Suddenly, a bright system message flickered into life before Subaru. The king has been defeated. Subaru exhaled, finally letting the tension go. This was supposed to be a beginner tutorial. Putting a boss like that in a starter zone is insane. Without that scavenged poison, this fight would have been a nightmare. But he had won. Immediately, a flood of reward notifications began to fill his vision. The haul was absolutely massive. 2,425 achievement points earned. The tutorial shop had finally unlocked, revealing its hidden treasures to him. The shop only showed items he could actually afford with his points. Subaru opened the interface, curious about what lay inside. He had never seen this screen before. Most players only ever reached stage 28. He was in completely uncharted territory. The shop page before him was something no one had ever witnessed. He scrolled to the items costing over 1,000 points. His eyes widened in shock at the incredible gear on display. He never dreamed that items of this caliber were sold here. One item stood out: a nameless demonic blade. It was a masterpiece by the swordsmith kindred, labeled a failure for its cost. The sword granted insane sharpness and physical buffs, but the trade-off was brutal. It hungrily devoured the user's very own stamina. With his lightning skills already draining him, this was a risky choice. What he really needed was a holy sword instead. Then he saw it, the holy sword Miranda. Forged from mithril, its strength and razor-sharp edge were nearly perfect for him. Even its secondary effects were a great match for his build, yet looking at Miranda, Subaru felt absolutely no interest. Maybe his past equipment had just been too legendary to compare. He had to be careful. This was a fresh start. Every point had to be spent wisely. Suddenly, a mysterious skill entry caught his eye, buried deep within the shop's pages. The further he scrolled, the more expensive and powerful the skills became. Then he saw it, a unique, high-rank skill. This was unlike anything he'd ever encountered. It looked like it could suppress the deadly side effects of his gear. If this could balance his lightning and the blade, it was worth it. Without a second thought, Subaru made his choice. He purchased the nameless demonic blade and the wedge of greed. Their compatibility was off the charts, a perfect match. It was better to use these powerful tools now than wait. Sensing the transaction finish, Hugo began walking toward the boy. He secured the nameless demonic blade and the wedge of greed. This skill shared a terrifying compatibility with the cursed sword. Instead of letting power sit idle, he would unleash its full value immediately. The ultimate combo was finally in his hands. His preparations were complete. Sensing the choice was made, Hugo stepped forward to greet the boy, who defied all odds. Watching from behind, Hugo couldn't fathom Subaru's bizarre selection. The skills and items simply made no sense. He blurted out, "Why pick that? It's practically worthless, and the efficiency is bottom tier at best." Subaru's brow furrowed as he countered coldly, "Why do you need to know?" Hugo's blood boiled at the disrespect. He nearly lashed out, but quickly reined in his fury. Considering Subaru's position, the exhaustion was understandable. Observing Hugo, a memory flickered. Subaru remembered the shock of realizing this man was actually the examiner. He'd barely kept a straight face earlier. After all, when they first crossed paths, Hugo was just a rookie. Back then, he was merely a lowly apprentice in the Knights Guild. During the Summit of Legends, between the Night Nation and Blue Eyes, a blushing younger Hugo had approached Subaru, desperately begging for an autograph. He had presented the paper with trembling hands, his gaze burning with an intensity that was almost overwhelming. Subaru never dreamed that the timid kid from his past would become the gatekeeper for this beginner tutorial. Now the tables were turned. As a fresh novice entering the tower, Subaru cut off Hugo's lecture abruptly. Refusing to explain his choices, he demanded one thing: keep these tutorial results a total secret. Hugo scoffed, adopting a patronizing tone. "If you're going to be difficult, then listen up," he chided. "You clearly lack discipline, so I'll educate you myself." Subaru simply turned his back and walked away. Seeing his target leaving, Hugo pivoted. He offered a sudden invitation. Interested in joining the Knights Guild? Without breaking his stride, Subaru threw back a cold, "Not interested." Suddenly, a system notification flashed. The prompt appeared: "Proceed to the second floor." Realizing Subaru was actually departing, Hugo scrambled to stop him. He rushed forward, but it was too late. Subaru confirmed the teleport, and his image began to fade. Dissolving into light, he vanished. Hugo sighed in frustration. convinced he had vastly overrated the young man's potential. In a flash, Subaru arrived on the second floor. At the base of every new floor, civilizations thrived. This level was home to a massive, bustling hub. Stepping into the chaotic marketplace, Subaru stood frozen. He watched the endless tide of humanity flowing through the streets. For any player, this moment was monumental. Passing the tutorial was just the start. Reaching the second floor was a true rite of passage. It signaled the real start of a player's war. Yet for Subaru, this milestone felt like heavy iron chains. He'd survived this hell before. This time he had to be perfect for his lost comrades and for vengeance. He had to right the wrongs of their tragic fate. Moving toward the central district, he sought a training room. He found a facility popular with rookies. The owner looked him over and asked, "Which floor did you finish?" "Just cleared the first floor," Subaru replied simply. The owner gestured toward the basic training room number 1. "Room 1 is perfect for you. It's got dummies and all the basics a newbie needs." Subaru dismissed the idea immediately. "Too easy. Give me training room number 5 instead," he demanded. The owner's face soured. "I gave you solid advice and you're just throwing it back in my face." Subaru didn't budge. "Fine." The owner tossed him the key, but not without a stern final warning. "No refunds if you quit early." Subaru smirked. "Don't worry about me. Just keep an eye on that room." Higher-numbered rooms meant lethal danger. Some hunters entered those doors and never came out alive. Reaching his destination, Subaru pushed open the heavy door to training room number 5. Time was a luxury he didn't have. He stepped inside and instantly prepared his body for combat. Not wasting a single heartbeat, he unsheathed the demonic blade. Instantly, a wave of pure malice exploded. A violent curse surged through his veins. To avoid being consumed by this evil, he needed overwhelming strength. The blade's corruption flared violently. Blood sprayed from his mouth as the physical strain hit its limit. His current form was fragile, but he had prepared for this. Pain was just part of the process. Suddenly, a digital chime echoed. "Wedge of Greed is countering the demonic sword. Resistance partially successful." The crushing weight vanished. Subaru lifted the cursed weapon with ease, his gamble finally paying off. This synergy was the reason he risked everything on this blade. His stats began to skyrocket instantly. A dark chuckle escaped his lips. The skill was working perfectly, shackling the blade's dark influence. With the curse contained, the real hell began. He lunged forward, a blur of lethal intent and power. To him, the room's traps were mere toys. 10 minutes later, the drowsy owner noticed a blur. He rubbed his eyes, stunned. It hadn't even been 10 minutes. Impossible speed. Full of doubt, he rushed to room 5. No answer to his frantic knocking. He threw the door open, but the sight inside made his breath hitch. Training room 5 was a total wreck. Every trap lay completely shattered. Subaru finally slept soundly, though his body still burned with heavy exhaustion. Entering a tavern, the crushing burden on his muscles finally began to fade. The Wedge of Greed had successfully unleashed the demonic sword's true terrifying power. Normally, his stats couldn't handle such a blade, but the synergy was undeniable. This meant the sword would perfectly fuse with his lightning abilities as well. Now only his level held him back. The old Subaru was always broke. He mocked his former self's poverty while noticing a streamer nearby. The broadcaster performed insane stunts for tips. It was a bizarre spectacle. A man poured coffee over his head for a donation. Subaru cringed. He felt awkward thinking money wasn't worth such humiliation, yet he needed it. A glint flashed in his eyes. In this streaming era, money meant power. Perhaps he could stream his growth to secure a stable income for training. Suddenly a voice called his name. A heavy pressure filled the air behind him. "So you climbed this high?" The man sneered, radiating an oppressive dark aura. Subaru's heart hammered. His body instinctively recoiled in a sudden sharp panic. The original owner's traumatic past with this man surged back like a nightmare. Isaac's tone turned icy when Subaru didn't respond. He demanded total attention. It wasn't just hate. It was pure paralyzing fear etched into Subaru's very soul. "I just arrived." Subaru stammered, his fingers trembling despite his newfound strength. Isaac sat down, casually mocking Subaru for surviving the deadly hunter trials. Rage flared within Subaru. He remembered this face, Isaac, the lifelong tormentor. He'd been bullied relentlessly just for sharing a name with a legend. No matter how much he begged, Isaac's cruelty had never shown mercy. That fear was rooted deep in his bones, a remnant of a broken past. Subaru cursed his former self's weakness. He wouldn't be a victim anymore. He finished his coffee, ready to walk away from the petty drama. Isaac chuckled, ordering Subaru to buy him a drink like a servant. "Buy it yourself," Subaru snapped. "Your legs aren't broken yet." Isaac exploded in fury, shocked by the sudden defiance from his favorite trash. Subaru ignored the shouting. He had far more important goals than this bully. But Isaac gripped his arm, a murderous grin spreading across his ugly face. "Running away, trash!" Subaru's gaze turned frigid, sharper than any blade. "Let go," he warned, "unless you want a shattered arm to remember me by." The cafe went silent as the threat hung heavily in the tense air. Isaac's face paled. He couldn't risk a public brawl that would ruin him. He forced a laugh, pretending it was a joke while his eyes burned. "Fine, leave," he hissed, hiding a vicious promise of blood beneath his breath. "Just pray we don't meet alone, or I'll end your miserable life." Little did he know he had just signed his own gruesome death warrant. For hunters, there were two paths: grueling trials or hunting high-tier monsters. Climbing the tower meant choosing trials or hunting. Outside safe zones, monsters lurked and the stakes were permadeath. One mistake meant the end. Subaru chose the hunter's path, grinding through the shadows to grow his power. He'd just finished off a goblin, pocketing a few gold coins. It was honest work, but a slow grind. He had climbed floor by floor this way. Suddenly, he checked his communicator and saw a massive stream. With nothing to do, he clicked in. To his shock, 80,000 people were watching the live broadcast. The sheer volume of donations was staggering. This streamer was raking in a fortune while Subaru just watched. Even worse, the imposter was wearing the exact mask and using the legendary name Subaru used years ago. In minutes, the fake earned 20,000 credits. The audience was throwing gifts like they'd lost their minds. Subaru's hands trembled with pure rage. A year of life and death hunting wouldn't match what this thief made. He realized the old path was dead. To build real wealth, he had to ride the streaming wave. Everyone was desperate to copy him. But what would happen if the original legend finally stepped back out? The thought sent a chill down his spine. Subaru stood up, his resolve hardening into cold, sharp steel. Tonight he'd activate his stream. But first he had to clear the trash monsters crawling on this floor. 5 hideous goblins emerged from the darkness. They snarled, but Subaru didn't even blink at their grotesque faces. With his cursed sword's corrosion finally suppressed, power began to surge through his veins like a roaring river. He was in a foul mood, and these monsters were the perfect targets to vent his explosive frustration. He crushed a goblin's face under his boot, moving like a flickering shadow through the dense dark woods. Ignoring the weak underlings, he lunged for the leader. In a heartbeat, he was soaring high above the beast. A single flash of silver cut the air. The leader's head spun away before its body hit the ground. The system chimed, confirming the hidden nest was cleared. That night, Subaru returned home and grabbed his mask. He never thought he'd wear this identity again. Now he'd dominate the stream using his own lethal style. A dangerous thought sparked. What happens when the real Subaru starts imitating the fakes? The world wasn't ready. Subaru was the ultimate trend, but he was the only true master. Meanwhile, a guild scout named Wa watched. Her partner sighed, asking why she only watched Subaru clones. He warned her the guild was going bankrupt. They needed a star to carry the traffic. Wa ignored him, her eyes searching for the one true king. She sifted through countless imitators, hoping to find a spark of the original. Suddenly, a new stream appeared. Another Subaru had gone live. When she clicked, she was the only viewer in the entire digital room. Her partner groaned, mocking her for watching zero-viewer streams. Wa just stared at the screen in silence. She whispered that every time a newcomer donned that mask, she felt a flicker of desperate, dying hope. Subaru officially began his broadcast while entering the second-floor trial. His mission was to clear the dungeon. He checked the count, but only 2 people were watching. His movements looked like those of a total rookie. The viewers assumed it was his first time in the tower. Subaru nodded, playing along with the beginner act. This only made his tiny audience worry. If he was a novice, he was walking into a death trap. As he moved, a shadow loomed. A bat monster dove for an ambush while he was distracted reading chat. Without looking up, Subaru's hand shot out, catching the creature by its skull mid-air with brutal precision. He slammed it into the earth with bone-shattering force. "I'm streaming here," he muttered. "Don't interrupt my debut." The monster died instantly, earning him 1 credit. He calmly looked back at the chat to answer them. He told them there wouldn't be any problems. He soon reached the gates of the second-floor trial zone. His viewer count rose to 3. One person warned him he was being way too reckless for a beginner. Starting a stream on the second floor was suicide. Subaru simply replied that he was broke and needed support. They told him to play it safe and find a party. He thanked them but shot the idea down. A party would only get in his way. He preferred the speed of a solo hunter's lethal efficiency. One viewer laughed, claiming greed was the fastest way to a grave. Others cheered for the bold newcomer. After all, anyone using the Subaru name had a chance at glory. Suddenly, Subaru's silhouette vanished into mist. He moved with such blinding speed that the camera could barely track him. The true hunt had begun. Mid-stride, he unsheathed his blade. With a single lightning-fast strike, the monster before him was sliced apart. The decapitation happened in a blink. The viewers were floored, unable to track the path of his steel. His speed was terrifying. Soon a massive swarm of bats lunged, but they couldn't even touch him. One horizontal swing cut down 10 bats instantly. Meanwhile, the stream's viewer count surged past 10. As he harvested their lives, achievement points rolled in. He casually began lecturing the chat on high-level combat. "Listen to the sound to predict their strike," he explained. In minutes, every bat was completely wiped out. The chat exploded. "You're clearly a pro player hiding behind a beginner's facade. Stop lying to us." Subaru seriously wondered if his explanation had flaws, yet the baffled chat couldn't grasp his god-tier logic. Some claimed it was pure high-level instinct. Subaru pushed deeper, hunting for more points before leaving. Someone noticed he was walking in a perfect straight line. Viewers sensed something terrifying was lurking ahead. "It's my first time streaming, so I'm not familiar," Subaru said. Suddenly, the monster density shifted drastically. Looking up, he saw the walls covered in bats. 1,000 crimson eyes snapped open at once. "He's dead meat," the chat screamed. Then a whale viewer offered 100 points for clearing them. Subaru's eyes sparkled. Yesterday took all day for pennies. Now a single jackpot reward awaited him. "Don't do it. It's a suicide mission," others warned. But Subaru's response set the entire stream ablaze. "Thanks for the extra 100 points. He said. Inside the guild, a frustrated partner slammed the desk hard. He was on the verge of a breakdown. A promising streamer had just quit wasting all the donations. He quickly apologized to Wah for the outburst, but Wah was frozen, her eyes glued to the screen. She was a die-hard fan who knew Subaru's every move. Her heart raced as she watched the display. She was so familiar with his rhythm it was frightening. Her partner leaned in, sensing her sudden intensity. "Subaru, he's really come back," she whispered. Her partner sucked in a breath, stunned by the carnage. Exactly how many has this guy slain? By now, 15 viewers were watching the masterclass slaughter unfold. Under his relentless blade, the bat monsters were erased. Subaru suddenly recalled a question from his past. "Your breathing and gaze never waver even when shifting strikes. It's like you only ever swing once." "Are you calculating their movements in advance?" Shu had asked, but Subaru never really understood any of that. He never thought that much. He just fought his way. "If you can't do this, that's the strange part. Ordinary people can't do it," Shu had argued, complaining about Subaru's lack of clear communication skills. "The key is looking them in the eye and speaking clearly," Shu said. So Subaru tried explaining logic. "When these bats attack, they always lead with their heads. More enemies just mean more openings." He performed a clean demonstration slash. He was serious, but he wasn't sure if they could even understand. Predictably, the stream exploded. This tutorial was so advanced it was practically useless to a normal player. "I'm on floor 4 being taught by a floor 2 beginner. This is totally insane," they shouted. "It's like being taught that moving legs equals walking." Subaru sighed. finding social interaction far more exhausting. Someone reminded him not to forget the reward points. He would have walked away if not for them. He pulled out his phone, ready to claim them. However, he hesitated, unsure of where to even click. He awkwardly paused for a second. The viewers grew anxious, screaming at him to hurry up and click. "I'm new to streaming, so I'm bad at this," Subaru admitted. The chat immediately went into a frenzy. He really was a pure newcomer. Following their frantic step-by-step instructions, he finally managed to claim it. Social interaction was more exhausting than combat. Suddenly, a viewer shouted for him to claim his hard-earned points. He reached for his phone, realizing he would have forgotten the reward entirely if the chat hadn't spoken up. He tried to claim the points, but once the app opened, he paused, totally lost on which button to tap. The viewers grew frantic, screaming for him to hurry. Subaru felt awkward, admitting he was tech-challenged. "Claiming points is hard for a first-timer," he muttered. The chat exploded. He really was a streaming rookie. Following their step-by-step guidance, he finally succeeded. With the rewards claimed, he pushed forward. He reached the final section of the floor with 150 points and 37 active viewers. Achievement points. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed through the guild office. Wicca had one word for this miracle. "This new streamer is insane. He's definitely the legendary Subaru reborn. We must recruit him immediately." Her partner was completely stunned. "Wicca's losing it again. If he's truly that powerful, why would he join our guild?" Whenever Subaru's name came up, she lost all logic. It looked like she'd completely fallen under his spell. "My head is spinning. Is this just youthful passion?" Her partner yelled. "No way, you aren't seriously planning to scout that rookie, are you?" Wicca declared firmly that she was. "You got a problem with that," her partner argued. "He might be unique, but he's just a beginner with zero following. He fails every guild standard." Wicca knew the rules, but she was going to sign him anyway. She trusted her instincts. She'd never been wrong before. Though she kept quiet, she was positive this was the real Subaru. His face had changed, but that overwhelming, crushing presence and battle flow were identical. Meanwhile, Subaru stood before a colossal gate. This had to be the dungeon's end. Past this door lay the next floor. With a firm shove, the heavy gates swung open. Inside, a massive beast waited. A giant werewolf sat in the shadows. It was Greg the Wolf Warrior, a nightmare boss known for his lethal one-hit kill. Abilities. The chat exploded with warnings. "This guy's a monster. Some players died 8 times before finally beating him." Then a system alert flashed. "To proceed, you must earn the Wolf Warrior's respect to enter the trial." This beast wasn't just a target to be hunted. He was a judge of strength testing if challengers had mastered the early dungeon floors. As the gatekeeper, he held the keys to progress. Suddenly, Subaru got a donation quest: slay the Wolf Warrior for 3,000 credits. He stopped dead. 3,000 credits was a fortune he hadn't even dreamed of. Who placed such a massive bounty? His viewer count had hit 20. The chat was flooded with people begging him to run away and quit the fight. The Wolf Warrior was a legend of death, and so far no player had ever taken him down. The beast's lips curled into a smirk. "So you're my next victim." He seemed intrigued. "Did you really come alone?" Subaru glared back coldly. "Are you blind? Who else would be here?" The Wolf Warrior roared with laughter. "Interesting, I smell the soul of a true apex predator in you." A hater in the chat mocked him, but Subaru knew the beast was right. This Wolf Warrior could sense something deeper than blood. He smelled a person's true essence and primal power. "You've already proven your worth," the beast growled, stepping aside to clear the path. The chat went wild. "There's a secret peace treaty mode. I've never seen this." Even in his past life, Subaru had never seen a boss back down. "But since I'm here, my only target is you." The Wolf Warrior paused. "Shouldn't you be aiming for the exit?" Subaru replied, "I want both." "But a fan just paid 3,000 credits for your head." The beast nodded, recognizing the spirit of a true warrior. Meanwhile, back at the guild headquarters, Wicca and her partner headed for their boss's office. They sat before John Tail, the big shot at Azure Sky Entertainment. This rookie, you keep hyping up what's his viewer count. Her partner hesitated. It's around 20, but Wika cut in boldly. It's 30 now. She wasn't embarrassed at all. Their supervisor scowled. You're wasting my time over 30 viewers. I know you've been slacking off, I told. You to find real talent, not some nobody with 20 fans. Wika corrected him again. 30? The boss was stunned. Stop arguing over tiny numbers. Wika didn't back down. Actually, I just checked again and it's over 40. His growth is explosive. That comment made the supervisor blow his top. Are you even listening to me? Back in the dungeon, Subaru and the beast prepared for war. The wolf warrior's aura flared. You want my head? Keep dreaming, kid. Subaru unsheathed his sword. Dream or reality? You'll find out soon. Suddenly, a system window appeared. The nameless demonic blade is draining the user's stamina and stats boosting attack power to godlike levels. Subaru's stamina's crashing, but his iron-like focus never wavers. Greed's power holds steady. The demonic blade's curse fights back, but he's forcing that dark energy to bend. Agony turns into pure power. Suddenly, the wolf warrior blurs into a killing machine. He's gone. Within a heartbeat, lethal claws are inches from Subaru's throat. Steel meets bone sparks ignite as Subaru parries the beast's savage onslaught. The beast retreats, then explodes. A relentless storm of strikes rains down upon him. Ordinary hunters would be shredded, but Subaru, he's far from ordinary. The wolf lunges for the kill. Subaru analyzes the trajectory with surgical precision. Head-on clashes are risky now. The monster laughs, smelling a supposed victory. Like a ghost, Subaru slips away. The wolf's sneer turns cold and mocking. You're still weak, he growls. Little does he know Subaru's ultimate strike is ready. Gravity shifts. Their weapons collide in a bone-shattering explosion of metal and fury. The chat's losing hope. He's just defending, they cry. There's no way he wins. The beast's power is terrifying. To them, this newbie is already a corpse. Subaru slams into the stone wall. Impact craters bloom, yet he isn't finished yet. Technical mastery trumps raw strength. Subaru rises, his resolve sharper than any blade. Impressive effort, little warrior. The wolf smirks, but the air begins to freeze. Bloodlust saturates the cave. Die knowing I'll await our next fated duel. Claws shatter, the bedrock stone fragments fly where Subaru's head should have been. He dodges by a hair's breadth. Save the speech, Subaru counters with icy calm. Your moves are a slow-motion joke. Speed is everything in this dance of death. Sword reversed. In a flash, he carves a deep crimson trench through the wolf's chest. Bone is exposed. The monster howls in agony as the tables finally turn. No mercy, Subaru leaps into the air, pouring every ounce of soul into his arm. The final strike falls. Even a legend can't tank this concentrated burst of destruction. Silence returns. Subaru sheathes his blade. 3,000 credits. Mission accomplished. Truly, a warrior, the beast gasps. With those final words, the predator falls. Level up attributes surge as 500 achievement points flood into his soul. Victory is costly. His body is broken, but the livestream is absolutely losing it. History has been rewritten. The unbeatable wolf warrior has finally met his end. One long, ragged breath. This climb is brutal, but Subaru's journey is just starting. 56 viewers and rising, the 3,000 credit reward is finally his. A month's wages earned in one day, every cent will become fuel for his growth. The boss is down. The heavy doors groan open, revealing a path to destiny. A system alert blinks. Even the veteran viewers are frozen in pure disbelief. Two paths emerge, elemental trials or laws of nature. A rare 13-choice junction. Usually you get 16, but 13. The chat's records are being completely shattered. Subaru chooses the Trial of Thunder. Destiny calls. It's the highest value but highest risk. Exactly the madness the viewers crave. Trial of Thunder. Confirmed. Retreating now would be an insult to his name. He vanishes into the light. High above the guild building erupts in chaos. The wolf is dead, yet he chooses thunder. The hype is reaching critical mass. Wika confronts the supervisor. 60 viewers on day 1, that's unheard of. 13 tasks triggered at once. Don't tell me you can't see his genius. The supervisor can only stare. A monster has been born in the stream. Wolf Warrior was a legend and undefeated beast, yet the supervisor saw Subaru as nothing but a weak, second-floor rookie. Charging into the thunder trial was pure suicide. Sensing his blatant doubt, WA proposed a gamble. If he fails, my team works for you 5 years for free. But if he wins, you sign him instantly with 0 excuses. No turning back now. Suddenly, her partner kicked WA into orbit. Don't gamble with my life. I don't know this guy. The supervisor smirked. Even if he survives, the prelims does a novice stand a ghost of a chance. Only one hunter had ever mastered thunder magic. Use a little provocation to force the issue. Do you have the guts to bet with a 99% win rate? He accepted instantly. The partner was the real victim, silenced by force as 5 years of his salary were gambled away. The thunder judgment was finally beginning. Subaru was instantly warped onto a desolate, war-torn battlefield. He began scanning the area when frantic human screams suddenly shattered the heavy silence. A burly warrior charged out of nowhere, tackling Subaru to the dirt with desperate strength. A massive explosion rocked the earth. Subaru looked up to face a colossal, bald, white-skinned monstrosity. "What are you doing?" the man roared. "Do you have a death wish, kid? Get up." Suddenly, the system pinged, "Defeat the Titan fragment." Why would this beast spawn here? The behemoth roared, swinging its mountain-sized hammer down in a trajectory of absolute destruction. Subaru was stunned, reacting a fraction too late. Even the livestream viewers were panicking. Isn't this the thunder trial? That monster belongs in a much higher-level Titan chapter instead. Boss-tier monsters shouldn't appear yet. How did a second-floor novice encounter this living nightmare? The giant didn't care about his confusion. Its weapon crashed down, aiming to crush his soul. At the very last millisecond, Subaru vanished. Judging by the rhythm, that strike felt surprisingly weak. If this was the extent of its power, Subaru knew he could dismantle this thing easily. "Run!" the man screamed. "I didn't save you just for you to get slaughtered." Subaru slowly gripped his hilt. He needed to end this before others got in his way. The cursed blade began hungrily devouring his stamina, boosting his core attributes to superhuman levels. Simultaneously, the wedge of greed kicked in, forcibly taming the demonic sword's lethal backlash. As the boss lunged forward, Subaru's counterattack was already perfectly primed for the kill. He became a blur of motion, pushing his speed beyond limits as he launched himself forward. The Titan's expression froze. It never expected a mere human to soar so high above it. Subaru landed on its head, driving his blade into the vulnerable nape for double critical damage. With one cold, surgical motion, he drove the steel clean through the giant's thick throat. Your screaming was getting on my nerves. I prefer silence. Blood flicked from his blade. Hopefully it stays quiet forever. With sheer force, he dragged the massive corpse to the ground. The Titan's vision faded as death approached. With a thunderous boom, the mighty beast fell. A legendary Titan fragment annihilated in a single masterful stroke by a supposedly weak newcomer. Everyone was stunned. The stream exploded. There was definitely something terrifying about this guy. The system notification flashed, Titan fragment vanquished. Stage 4 successfully cleared. The viewers were baffled, only Stage 4. Meanwhile, Subaru felt the familiar surge of a level up. Strength and agility spiked as his health and mana pools expanded toward the heavens. With nearly 400 achievement points, the spoils included a giant's heart and thunder armor. The warrior's jaw hit the floor while the live chat erupted into a frenzy of hype. The system handed out every reward at once. Talk about a massive jackpot for one kill. "You actually killed it," the man stammered. The chat died, laughing at his terrified face. Natives would be scared stupid. Subaru nodded. "It wasn't hard. I'm your guardian angel today." The chat roared. His serious tone made him look like a total legend. Total madness. Soon the giant warrior escorted Subaru to a tiny village for much-needed rest. Peace reigned for now. At least those pale monstrosities weren't currently mounting an all-out assault. His viewers were dying of curiosity, spamming the chat for him to reveal the hidden loot. Driven by his own excitement, Subaru accessed the system interface. A prompt flashed giant heart obtained. This rare ring accessory boosted health and recovery speed, appearing as a masterfully crafted piece. High-tier accessories were incredibly scarce, making this massive vitality boost a literal godsend for him. But Subaru's eyes were on that armor. Its stats were legendary, providing critical defense boosts. It granted Thunderstrike and status immunity, though limited to 3 uses. The chat went wild. Thunder armor was a mythic drop. Combined with the permanent giant heart, his value skyrocketed instantly. The market price for such items was limitless. Suddenly, Subaru equipped the legendary Thunder armor. A terrifying aura radiated from his body. One viewer immediately posted a high-stakes challenge. Master Lightning and I'll send 5,000 credits. Thanks for the support, ma'am. Stay blessed. Another fan jumped in promising 5,000 more if he secured true Thunder magic abilities. A third upped the ante by 3,000. Then one woman dropped a 7,000 credit task. Subaru's posture shifted under the pressure. I'll do it. I will definitely master the Thunder element. I hope for your continued support. It seemed that no matter the world, people craved power. Everyone was waiting for the return of the Lightning King. That was the natural order here. Thunder magic was Subaru's signature. Mastering it again meant total domination of the streaming world. Suddenly, a knock echoed. A handsome blonde knight and a battle-scarred man stood at his door. The scarred man spoke. Apologies for the wait. This is Captain Perilous of the Night Order. Joining them, Subaru learned the grim truth about the White Giants. Their attacks were escalating rapidly. Neighboring villages were already being slaughtered, pushing the local defenders to their absolute breaking point. The Night Order remained on high alert, 24 hours a day, patrolling the borders constantly. To ensure safety, they had locked down the village. Perilous smiled at Subaru's imposing presence. Encountering a warrior of Subaru's caliber during this crisis was a rare stroke of luck. Thank you for protecting our home while I was away. Subaru humbly dismissed the captain's praise. I only did my duty. Subaru recognized Perilous as the village's hero, their beacon of hope. During a scout, they located the giant leader. It was time for a final desperate stand. The two men bowed deeply, begging Subaru to lend his strength to their suicidal mission. Subaru had no choice. He needed those giant kills to complete his primary system quest anyway. Even the chat pleaded, Perilous, don't die. He was a rare, kind soul among the NPCs. Subaru saw the comments. They were unintentional spoilers because the game's script was already written. If he remembered correctly, Perilous was destined to perish in the very next combat stage. Subaru reached out, leaving Perilous stunned. Look up. I'm with you. Let's make a pact. Until every giant is dead, neither of us dies. Perilous thanked him, feeling his hope return. System Alert Stage 5 initiated. Mission name Survival. The massive hunting party began their march. Nearly 100 men moved out. However, Subaru's focus was glued to his streaming, HUD. At first, the messages were readable, but as viewers flooded in, the chat became a blur. It was a runaway scroll of text, making communication impossible. Suddenly, Perilous signaled a halt. The scarred man pointed ahead. That giant has been wandering there all day, completely unafraid. It was the giant leader. Its sheer size confirmed it would be a nightmare to take down. Perilous began tactical assignments. He would act as bait while Subaru launched a deadly ambush. Subaru gripped his shoulder, stopping him mid-sentence. Hold on. Stay alert and watch the perimeter. Something is wrong. This feels like a blatant trap. That leader is nothing but a lure. There aren't just 10 giants nearby. The moment he finished speaking, the ground began to tremble. Even as he spoke, violent tremors shook the earth. Everyone realized they were totally surrounded. Subaru confirmed it. The leader was merely bait. Its massive eyeballs snapped open, locking onto their trembling souls. Without warning, giants erupted from the soil one after another. An entire hidden army was now emerging. Reaching the leader was an impossible dream. The moment they stepped forward, the true nightmare was revealed. The horde was overwhelming, far beyond anything their small force could hope to survive in a head-on clash. Perilous' face turned ghostly pale. His supposed opportunity had actually lured his entire team into a dead end. The white giants lunged, turning the retreat into a brutal slaughter. Soldiers fell as monstrous strength crushed them. Courage vanished instantly. Moore watched in pure terror as the giants drained the very soul from his men. A shouting soldier was silenced forever, ripped apart instantly. The horrific sight shattered what little hope remained. The giant's mouth twisted into a grotesque smirk, mocking the lowly insects who dared attempt a pathetic ambush. "Retreat to the base!" Perilous roared. The formation shattered as everyone scrambled blindly for their lives. Survival was the only priority. The white giants let out thunderous roars, thrilled to toy with humans again. Casualties mounted rapidly during the flight. The giants were relishing this hunt, treating the soldiers like broken toys. Someone tried to save a fallen comrade, but others dragged him back. "Stop! We'll all die if we stay." That delay was fatal. The giants were already looming over them, their massive shadows swallowing the path. "Go, I'll hold them!" Pelia screamed. "That's an order. Full retreat back to the safety of our village." He forced them to remember their families. "This isn't the end. We will regroup and take our revenge." Those words sparked a final bit of reason. The men fled down the mountain in a state of panic. Only Perilous and the scar-faced man remained, but Perilous ordered him away. The future depended on him. Suddenly, Subaru walked calmly toward them. Perilous gasped, "Brother, run, rebuild our order, and fight later." "I'll be the shield," Perilous cried, but Subaru unsheathed his sword. "Sorry, but that was actually my line." "You and the scar-faced man," leave a Subaru pressed. "Leave this place to me. I finished speaking." "So why are you still not running?" Subaru simply made his intentions brutally clear and final. "You're in the way," he added. "Stay, and I can't fight freely. We'll only die together here." Perillous's loyalty made him hesitate, but Subaru's voice turned even colder. "Don't make me say it again. Your presence will get me killed." Finally, Perilous gritted his teeth and turned to flee into the woods. "I'll gather the men," Perilous vowed. "Just survive until I return." This was exactly what Subaru wanted. With Perilous gone, the death trap vanished. Now Subaru could finally slaughter these beasts without any restraint. Perilous looked back while running, heart full of debt. "Hold on, brother, I swear I'm coming back." The giant horde surged golden energy circuits glowing on their bodies. Subaru didn't flinch. He charged straight ahead. Activating two major skills, Subaru blurred. As a giant lunged for Perilous, Subaru intercepted it with speed. "I'm your opponent," Subaru growled. "You don't have permission to leave." In a flash, he struck. He severed the giant's leg, instantly pinning it down. Subaru began a systematic dance of destruction. He focused on crippling their movement, carving through the legs of every giant that dared to step forward. The horde's advance was forcibly halted. These titans never expected a lone human to wield such terrifying power. Within moments, 2 giants were dead and 20 points earned, yet the silence of fighting alone felt strange. He briefly recalled the tactical rhythm he once shared with his team. Meanwhile, Perilous raced toward home. Sprinting toward the village, Perilous suddenly stopped and looked back. There was nothing but silence behind him. No pursuers followed. Was Subaru really holding back that entire nightmare alone? Unwillingness surged in Perillous's chest. He gritted his teeth and accelerated. He had to gather every able-bodied man to save his brother. He just needed Subaru to hold on. Little did he know Subaru wasn't the one trapped in a siege. In reality, it was Subaru who had the giants surrounded. The global chat was losing their minds. They called him a lunatic. No one had ever seen such a suicidal one-man war against a horde. The village's forces could never arrive in time to help, but Subaru didn't need any help at all. Now the lives of everyone depended on this lone warrior, standing against a sea of white titans. Fated death is rewritten by Subaru's influence. Suddenly, 2 massive titans launch a heavy assault. Subaru readies his blade. Dodging the impact, he carves open a titan's chest with ease. With a massive pivot, he severs the other's leg. Immobility is the key to this hunt. Crippling them was vital. With Subaru's current power, one-shotting these beasts is now trivial effort. But can his sword hold out? His true objective is locking onto the enemy leader. Ending this requires the boss's head. Subaru leaps onto a giant's shoulder, scanning the field. A casual swing splits a Titan's skull, 10 points gained as his speed reaches new heights. The fodder no longer matters. Subaru's a blur of steel hunting for the alpha monster. One cunning giant snaps its jaws. It expects a snack, but meets Subaru's heavy boot. Subaru tramples its face, using the force to launch himself higher into the air. This reckless, high-stakes combat has the live stream viewers paralyzed with absolute terror. This streamer is ruthless. One slip means death, yet aerial dominance is Subaru's trademark style. System alert Wedge of Greed is resisting the Nameless Blade's curse. Recovery is now active. Health and mental power surge. Subaru grins. His recovery is finally matching his heavy stamina drain. Equipment really changes the game. He hasn't hit his limit yet, but the leader must fall. There, Subaru locks onto the target. A few more steps and the killing blow is his. But the leader smirks. A chilling shiver strikes Subaru's heart as the counterattack begins. If he doesn't finish this now, Subaru is dead. The boss's ultimate move is fully charged. One strike will turn him into red mist. For once, Subaru feels a ripple of panic. It has to work. Snapping his fingers, he bets everything on a single desperate magic cast. System alert Thunder magic release consumed. Blinding. Golden light erupts from Subaru's very soul. One chance. Let heavens roar, and lightning purge this battlefield in a symphony of destruction. Countless bolts explode outward. The giant's eyes are seared by the sudden blinding electric flash. Thunderous peals shatter their eardrums. Even the leader howls as the agonizing pain takes hold. It curses the human, but Subaru is already above its head. He pushes his blade's power. He funnels every drop of remaining stamina into his sword's edge. The demonic blade hungrily consumes. With a sickening sound, he delivers a crippling blow. The leader's life bar plummets instantly. Just 2 more hits. The boss never imagined falling to such a weak, lowly human. Subaru seizes the opening, stabbing 3 times in succession. The Titan leader finally crashes down. System alert Stage 5. Survival mode cleared. An extraordinary achievement has been unlocked. Level up. Subaru's strength and agility soar. Vitality +2 and mana +1. The chat is erupting. They're witnessing the first ever clear of this floor in history. Without this stream, the world would never have seen such a legendary, heart-pounding performance. Some viewers feel a chill. Defeating the unbeatable might trigger something far more dangerous. In a manga, this is the victory shot. But reality doesn't offer such easy endings. Storm clouds still swirl. The giants are recovering, and their vengeful counterattack is starting now. Subaru glares at his demonic blade. The Wedge of Greed can't stop the creeping exhaustion. He leaps from the corpse. It's a dead end, so he'll just have to keep killing. Monsters won't vanish until the trial ends. He's used this mechanic, but now he's the target. Blood trickles from his mouth. His power is running dry as the Titans close the distance. Clutching the cursed steel, Subaru felt the Wedge of Greed, failing to suppress the demonic blade's soul-draining curse. Trapped at a dead end, he plunged into the fray. If he was going down, he'd keep killing. Clearing the stage wasn't enough. These monsters wouldn't vanish until the entire trial reached its final end. He'd exploited this mechanic before, but never expected the backlash to tear his own body apart this time. Blood dripped from his lips as his mana ran dry. The white giants laughed, sensing his imminent collapse. They sensed his exhaustion, their faces twisting into sadistic grins. But suddenly, the heavens roared, and the gloomy sky fractured as massive pillars of lightning tore through the clouds. In a flash, every single bolt of celestial electricity converged on a single point. Subaru felt an explosive surge of raw power flooding every fiber of his being. After taking the full force of the strike, he stood there like a god of thunder reborn. Even motionless, the terrifying aura radiating from him rivaled the peak intensity of his previous ultimate skill consumption. As Subaru clashed with those ivory behemoths deep in the woods, a mysterious woman sat in a cabin doorway, fixated on a live stream. Her expression remained cold. She was disgusted by another amateur trying to exploit the legendary Subaru's name. Just then, Shu emerged from the shadows, his voice laced with genuine confusion. He asked, Why? Are you lurking outside? She replied distantly. The sun feels right today. It's the only way to find peace. Shu's tone turned heavy. This cycle has to stop. She nodded slowly. It will. Within a year at most, Shu flared up. A year? What kind of riddle is that? Why do you always get cryptic when things get intense? Sensing something was off, his suspicion grew. Driven by curiosity, he stepped closer to peer at her screen. She explained she was monitoring a rising streamer who had brazenly claimed the name Subaru. Hearing that name, Shu's heart skipped a beat, but she quickly warned him to keep his cool. This wasn't their Subaru. It was just some poser using a famous handle to clear a high-level trial. She continued, face reality. If Subaru had survived that catastrophe, his legendary Suki would have resurfaced by now. He couldn't have stayed hidden for years. Whether she liked it or not, the truth was unavoidable. Subaru was gone. When will you accept it? Shu turned away, his heart refusing to process her words. Enough! Don't bring this up again. He stubbornly clung to the hope that his friend was still alive. She shouted back, her voice trembling. How long will you live in a dead man's shadow? Move on. Shu spun around, eyes blazing. And you? Have you moved on? He suddenly snatched the phone from her. If you had, you wouldn't be obsessively hunting for his name every single day. He shoved the screen forward. She tried to play it off as boredom, but as she looked at the footage, she suddenly froze solid. Impossible, Shu muttered, his eyes glued to the display. Is this really just some random streamer? But as he scrutinized the figure, his jaw hit the floor. A second shockwave of realization hit him. Back in the trial, Subaru's thunder art radiated outward in violent waves. The giants couldn't even get close. Their massive bodies were being charred to a crisp by the relentless electrical discharge surrounding the young warrior. As the lightning finally stabilized, it was clear he had fully mastered the art. The stream chat exploded in absolute chaos. A new legend was being born. The viewers realized that to claim the ultimate thunder skill, he had to slay the Titan leader. Observing the frantic comments, Subaru's expression sharpened with intense caution. This secret was never meant for public eyes. Suddenly, the system flared. Warning: lightning skill consumes HP and MP upon activation, upgradable via thunder fragments. Subaru knew just staying alive was a miracle in itself. The chaotic timing of the trial's interruption had actually worked in his favor. Then 2 more alerts flashed. He had just been gifted 5,000 and 7,000 credits in back-to-back donations from his mesmerized audience. These massive rewards were for completing hidden viewer tasks. His total credit count had now skyrocketed past 20,000. Knowing streamers often gave a thank you performance, he decided to turn the trial into a show. The gargantuan horde surged toward him like a tidal wave of death. Subaru's eyes turned cold as ice. He was about to show them true terror. Without hesitation, he dumped 20,000 credits into a massive upgrade for the Wedge of Greed. The moment the process finished, a violent shift occurred within his body. The crippling backlash didn't just vanish, it inverted into a massive buff. Pure, unadulterated power flooded his entire being. He concentrated every spark of lightning into his right palm. He could have played it safe, but today, he chose violence. Subaru lunged forward, charging the monsters head-on with zero intention of backing down or retreating. The giants wore arrogant grins, completely unaware they were staring at their own funeral. Their death timers had started. With a roar, Subaru channeled every ounce of surging lightning into the spine of his blade. A system alert rang out. Lightning infusion complete. The unnamed demonic blade has been awakened. Subaru stood ready for slaughter. Now die, they roared. But then a terrifying flash of scarlet radiance erupted from Subaru's broken form. One strike, a single god-tier horizontal slash, bifurcated the entire front line before they could even react. The momentum was unstoppable, a wave of pure destruction carving through the giants like paper. Sword energy usually flies straight, but this sweep was inescapable. The giants had nowhere left to hide. 10 seconds later, the red aura faded. Subaru cursed softly. He'd poured every ounce of strength into that. His tank was empty. He'd pushed too hard. Now even taking a single step felt like an impossibility. Fortunately, only corpses remained. Subaru slammed his long sword into the earth just to stay upright. He knelt amidst the carnage, barely supporting his weight. Then shadows moved in the distance behind him. It was the scar-faced man's crew. They had actually kept their promise and returned to save him. When Pilya saw the absolute slaughter, he froze in disbelief. This wasn't a battle. It was a massacre. Rushing to his side, Pilya cried, "Benefactor, are you alive?" Subaru turned his vision, beginning to swim. A faint smile touched his lips. They actually came. But as the tension broke, darkness rushed in. His mind spun as consciousness slipped away. He thought, "Perilous, you idiot. You shouldn't have come back." If any giants remained, these fools would have died instantly. Meanwhile, at the guild, the atmosphere was heavy. Two staff members stared at Hwa. After seeing Subaru clear the stage, she sat down, hiding her face. Her partner asked the supervisor, "Is he really worth all this drama?" The man just sighed helplessly. "I don't understand women," he muttered. Hwa's body trembled as she whispered, "It's over. I'm in love." The feeling she hadn't felt since childhood hit her. She panicked, thinking about the message she just sent. Was she too formal? Did she sound like a robot? She began to spiral over her own professional tone. Should she have been more human? What if he never replies because she sounded too cold and official? Her partner was speechless. "It was a business text, Hwa. Just admit you're a total fangirl already." The boss shook his head. "So you didn't recruit him for the guild. You did it for yourself." Blushing hard, Hwa defended herself. "I'm his biggest fan. Signing him was a genius move, I guarantee it." She insisted that Subaru was a legendary investment. To her, he was the only one who mattered. He wielded the power of thunder, a gift only the original Subaru ever truly mastered in the past. Her partner didn't care about destiny. As long as his paycheck was safe, he was satisfied. The boss nodded. This unique talent needed to be watched closely. He was a true diamond in the rough. Suddenly, a phone buzzed. Hwa's heart leapt. Had Subaru finally replied to her message after the battle? He'd read it. The scene receipt was there. But in the next second, her world turned to ice. Read, but no reply. Hwa froze her soul, basically leaving her body. She looked like a statue. "She's died standing up," her partner joked. "Should we go ahead and order her a coffin?" Elsewhere, a famous combat analyst was live streaming. Hawkeye's was the king of hardcore hunter breakdowns. He'd climbed to the top by exposing the secrets of the world's most elite and mysterious players. He analyzed everyone, including the dark horse Aman, who was currently tearing through the tower rankings. Even Atsuki from Blue Eyes was on his list. The pressure on these representative players was immense. "Today we break down the skills of Earth's finest," Hawkeyes announced to his massive online audience. And of course we can't ignore the legend. Subaru, the man who transcends every era of combat. No matter the hype, lightning belonged to one man, a name that haunted every other hunter's dreams. There was only one person occupying everyone's mind at this moment, the one and only, Subaru. Hawkeyes prepared his lock-on skill. It was time to dissect the mystery of the world's hottest player. Doubters in the chat sneered, calling the rookie a clout chaser who barely reached the second floor. But Hawkeye stood firm, insisting beginners deserve a fair shot before being crushed. Streaming is a brutal grind. He opened Subaru's channel, played the footage, and gasped in pure shock. This is simply insane. What am I even witnessing? Cold sweat dripped down his face as he finished the video. That focus was bone-chilling. He mastered that skill, instantly wielding it with terrifying precision. He looked like a god in human skin. Shockingly, he observed Subaru manipulating his skills with surgical precision, injecting the perfect dose of mana without wasting a single drop. Achieving such efficiency demanded legendary levels of god-tier micromanagement. Throughout the chaotic skirmish, Subaru's execution remained flawless. Witnessing this, the veteran hunter finally dropped his verdict. "This kid is destined for greatness. I'm marking him as a high-priority target to watch." The community buzzed with anticipation for this rookie's ascension. Reaching floor 10 might even spark a legendary party recruitment. Within the massive viewership, barely 10 experts truly grasped the depth of that fight. Suddenly, a jarring comment flashed on Hawkeye's screen. The standard final review was missing. Usually, Hawkeye meticulously calculated a hunter's absolute potential ceiling. However, this time, Subaru's insane mechanics forced him to reach a startlingly different realization based on the boy's master-level finesse. This rookie had already eclipsed Subaru's former prime. Meanwhile, in a different sector, Subaru snapped awake from a deep unplanned slumber. He bolted upright, stunned that he had actually blacked out so completely. A welcome system notification flashed. Stage 6 is active. Stamina fully recovered. Option to pause the trial unlocked. Halting progress required 2 strict criteria, completing the current floor while the subsequent stage remained. Dormant and achieving full health recovery. Having met both, Subaru checked his phone to reboot his broadcast. To his shock, the viewer count had exploded past 700. He was completely oblivious to his sudden viral fame. Addressing the lens, he announced, "I'm taking a break today. The grind continues in 48 hours. See you then." A system message echoed his words. Subaru has concluded the stream. A brilliant sapphire glow enveloped him, and he vanished into thin air. He materialized moments later within a silent, ethereal expanse known as the Judgment Waiting Room. Before him stood a lone, imposing door radiating a heavy silence. Subaru didn't rush. He checked his private inbox first, discovering a high-stakes partnership proposal from a renowned influencer guild. Dismissing it as spam, he peeled off his mask only to freeze when he saw the sender. The titans of the entertainment industry had reached out. 2 hours later, Subaru arrived at a quiet cafe. He grabbed a corner table and started researching the corporation's history. They were a multi-billion-dollar behemoth that specialized in manufacturing superstars through aggressive capital investment. The world had truly transformed into something unrecognizable and massive. Suddenly, another notification interrupted his thoughts, flashing across his screen like a digital warning. The rumors were spreading like wildfire. Hawkeye's latest obsession was none other than the rookie prodigy, Subaru. Word on the street claimed his technical prowess had already eclipsed the legend's peak. It seemed Hawkeye was deeply involved with Azure Sky too. The man was notorious for his brutal, unfiltered honesty. Yet, Subaru respected Hawkeye's predatory instincts. He had scouted his potential instantly. At that moment, the heavy thud of boots echoed through the cafe. Another player, incensed by Hawkeye's viral commentary, stomped in while grumbling. Foul insults. Being compared to a nobody enraged him. The claim that this rookie's mechanics might already outshine Subaru's prime was a bitter pill. "Give me a break," he hissed. "He's a pathetic beginner who is crawling through the second floor." Fury and contempt boiled within him as he questioned Hawkeye's sanity. Convinced the veteran had lost his mind, once he conquered this floor, he'd personally punish the old man. He spat on the floor in disgust, his mood darkening. Today was already a disaster, but the universe had one more cruel joke, a face from his past. Subaru, however, remained completely oblivious to the newcomer's presence. Not that he'd care, anyway. To the other man, this felt like a curse constantly, colliding with Subaru at every turn. Seeing Subaru's face again made his blood boil toward a breaking point. Every glance intensified his hatred, turning Subaru into the perfect target for his pent-up rage. Conveniently, an open chair sat right beside Subaru. He marched over, abandoning all civility. With a deliberate, violent jolt of his elbow, he drenched Subaru in hot coffee. Subaru shot up, his eyes flashing. "What the hell is wrong with you? Are you blind?" Then he recognized the culprit, Isaac, the persistent nuisance. Subaru had zero patience for this clown's antics. Well, if it isn't little Subaru, we're destiny, aren't we?" Isaac sneered. "This floor must be tiny if I keep seeing your trashy face." Subaru gave a cold stare before returning to his screen. As he rose to exit, Isaac's mocking voice trailed after him. "Need a charity refill? A peasant like you should thank me for the attention." Subaru walked away, completely unfazed. Isaac's fury flared instantly. To him, Subaru was a mere nobody, yet that extra dared defy him. As Subaru reached the exit, Isaac's voice cut through. "I didn't give you permission to leave." Subaru's cold gaze met his. "Speak fast or don't waste my breath." Those words ignited Isaac's temper. He lunged, seizing Subaru's collar. "Watch your tone, brat. Wipe that arrogant smirk off your face." "I'll break you just like the old days." Subaru simply sighed, "Forgive me," and moved with terrifying speed. He gripped Isaac's wrist, his strength surging. With a sharp flick, he tossed the bully's hand aside. "I'm done playing. Find another victim." Isaac froze, his heart pounding against his ribs. How was this weakling suddenly this powerful? His arm still vibrated from the sheer pressure. "Consider that injury payment for my ruined coffee." Subaru's parting sting left Isaac trembling with humiliation. "You think you're special now? Get back here." But only the sound of a closing door answered him. Isaac exhaled, his mind racing. He'd planned a quiet climb this time, but his blood was boiling. "I'll beat some respect into you. You clearly forgot who rules this tower." His fury didn't stop there. That new streamer named Subaru was also a target. Both of them were begging for a beatdown. Meanwhile, Subaru remembered an unread message. He finally sent a response to the Entertainment Guild. "We'll meet soon." Moving with purpose, he arrived at the exiled lizard's hidden lair. His wedge of greed fought against the demonic blade's dark energy. His body was slowly adapting. Suddenly, a flicker of flame ignited above. The spark expanded rapidly, revealing the massive boss. Hunters called it the demon lizard. It descended from the ceiling, a true nightmare of scales and heat. The beast stared hungrily, its jaws dripping with lethal saliva. It sensed fresh prey. To master his lightning, Subaru needed a live test. This lizard was the perfect sacrificial lamb. He channeled 90% of his power. "Can I end this in a single strike?" he wondered. His feet shattered the ground as golden lightning erupted. He was a bolt of pure destruction. He launched himself straight at the monster's throat. Killing these creatures was second nature to him now. The demon lizard roared, gathering a sea of fire in its gullet. It wouldn't go down easy. A massive fireball surged toward him, but Subaru didn't blink. He dove into the flames. He funneled every spark of lightning into his blade. The edge hummed with absolute lethality. A system alert flashed. Lightning infusion successful. Subaru's blade carved through the inferno. The wedge of greed struggled with the backlash but failed. His skill level soared regardless. In a heartbeat, Subaru was hovering over the beast. He poured his entire soul into his arm. This was the finishing blow. Lightning cascaded as his sword descended with divine judgment. The lizard was split perfectly in half. System alerts chimed as his levels and mana surged. As he gathered the loot, a shadow flickered. A figure blocked his path out of the darkness. Subaru's eyes narrowed to slits. He felt a wave of pure, unfiltered killing intent. The man stepped forward, his face twisting in the moonlight. "Hunting this late? How diligent." It was Isaac again. Subaru sighed at the man's pathetic obsession. He'd followed him all this way. Isaac had tried to let it go, but the humiliation felt like a heavy stone in his chest. The rage had consumed him until he had no choice but to hunt Subaru down. "Let's end this today," Isaac growled. Subaru smirked. "End it? You don't even know the stakes." Elsewhere, Hawkeyes entered a quiet shop. The guild president sat in the corner waiting for him. The president signaled him over. He needed an expert's opinion on this mysterious Subaru. Hawkeyes grinned, taking a seat. "Long time. How's the guild's viewership looking lately?" He admitted things were stagnant. His audience was loyal, but the numbers weren't climbing anymore. The president sipped his tea calmly. "Stability is a foundation, but we need a breakthrough." Hawkeyes leaned in, cutting to the chase. "I'm busy. Why did you really call me here?" The president's eyes sharpened. "That Subaru you mentioned yesterday, were you serious about his potential?" "Wait." That rookie Hawkeyes looked stunned. "You're really asking about him again?" "Fine, I'll repeat myself. Purely on talent, he dwarfs Subaru at his absolute peak, but whether he can reach legendary heights, that is still a mystery. You catch my drift?" The president nodded. Recruitment was now a top priority. The streaming guild needed him. Even Hawkeyes was rattled by the boss's swift, decisive move. The boss has a killer instinct. Poach him before he goes viral. Let him name his own price. The president didn't hesitate. Hawkeye's evaluation had sealed the deal. He could no longer stay calm. The master plan was set. Once Subaru signed, he'd be paired with Hawkeye's for a massive collaboration. Skyrocketing his fame was the goal. Total profit dominance. Meanwhile, deep in the shadows of the forest, Isaac's roar echoed through the trees. No more running. It's just the two of us now, you rat. Subaru stood his ground. Just us. So what's your deal? What are you actually after today? Isaac wanted to shatter Subaru's calm face. He sneered, closing the distance with pure, unadulterated malice. You're just a lucky fraud. Do you honestly believe you've become the legendary Subaru pathetic? Trying to mimic his lightning, Isaac's knuckles turned white as he spat out his venomous, gritted hatred. That bastard Subaru should have stayed dead and buried. Fakes like you make my blood boil with disgust. Subaru was baffled by such intense loathing. Ironically, the world was now crawling with his own shadows. Countless fakes roamed this era. Subaru finally spoke up, his voice calm, yet heavy with questions. Why the hate? Is it just the name? If so, why does it trigger you so much? Millions adore that name. Why do you despise it? Isaac's cold exterior suddenly flickered with visible rage. Isaac's face twisted. Do you know my father? He's Reinhardt, the 9th floor's most elite powerhouse. Subaru's heart skipped a beat. Reinhardt. He remembered that name and that man all too well. A legendary swordsman known for lethal strikes. Back on the 9th floor, their blades had once crossed. The world didn't know the truth. Subaru had crushed the one-hit killer with a single strike. How could a 9th floor titan accept such a humiliating defeat? It was a nightmare he couldn't escape. The duel ended in 3 seconds. When Subaru mentioned the name, Isaac's sanity finally snapped. Keep my father's name out of your mouth. Subaru finally saw the truth behind the boy's fury. So it's about that one-hit defeat. But have you considered the scars I carry from that? The torment almost claimed my life. In response, Isaac's hands erupted into twin spheres of hellfire. Shut up one more word and I'll incinerate you. Flames surged, trapping Subaru in a ring of fire. Subaru sighed. There was no talking his way out. Isaac was truly radiating a murderous intent. I'll bury you in ash, Isaac screamed. This lizard man lair will be your final resting place. I'm sick of Subaru and his Blue Eyes squad. They were all trash who died like dogs. Subaru's chest tightened. Insulting him was fine, but mocking his fallen comrades, that was the final straw. To Isaac, their deaths were a joke. He felt a twisted sense of joy thinking of them. They're probably rotting in the deepest pits of hell right now. Isaac grinned, launching a massive fireball. Since you love the name, go join him in death. An explosion rocked the forest, lighting the sky. A pillar of fire erupted with world-ending force. Isaac exhaled his mana nearly depleted from the strike. He wiped his brow, almost regretting the overkill. He'd completely vaporized the kid in a single move. But regret turned into a cruel smirk. One nuisance down. Now where is that masked brat hiding? Suddenly a voice boomed inside his head. You mean this mask? The smoke began to part. A silhouette emerged from the embers, standing tall. Subaru had finally donned his true identity once more. The real Subaru had returned. Isaac's eyes widened in horror. How did you survive that direct hit? You blocked it with your bare hands. Subaru stood like a god of war amidst the flames. Every instinct screamed at Isaac to run. This wasn't the weakling he'd been mocking moments ago. In a flash of hesitation, lightning crackled. Subaru vanished, leaving only a streak of blue light. He reappeared instantly, closing the gap in a heartbeat. Subaru's fist was already aimed at his throat. A brutal strike to the gut. Isaac's eyes bulged in pure shock. This power, it was monstrous. Collapsing to his knees, Isaac could not hold back the surge of blood staining his lips. Subaru loomed over him like a god of judgment. When they break, I snap. Isaac's mind reeled. Impossible. How did he get this strong? Subaru reached up, slowly pulling away his mask. That was just a warm-up. Subaru's voice was cold. Look closely. Who am I, the kid you broke? The streamer, or the blue-eyed legend. Isaac spat blood. a desperate sneer twisting his face. "Don't make me laugh. You the legendary streamer. You're still just trash to me." "Lightning is a joke. If a loser like you can wield it, then so can I." Flame ignited in his palm. "You think these cheap tricks are enough to actually defeat me?" Subaru watched the fire grow. Isaac's denial was pathetic. He truly believed his flames could win. The fire intensified. Isaac lunged, aiming to crush Subaru's throat in one lethal grip. But fate intervened. In a heartbeat, Isaac's hand spun through the air, severed by a lightning flash. The moment it happened, Isaac's soul went numb with terror. He had finally met his end. He'd signed his death warrant the moment he insulted Subaru's friends. There was no turning back. Subaru had shown enough mercy. Now Isaac was drowning in a sea of confusion and dread. He could not grasp the weight of Subaru's words. His mind searched for a reason, any reason. A terrifying thought took root. This was absolutely not the weak boy he used to know. When did he become this monster? Isaac had no answers, only the cold reality of death. The truth was undeniable. Blue-eyed Subaru had returned. But how, why inhabit this boy's body? Why would a dead legend reappear like this? Subaru did not wait for his questions. He swung his blade, ending the villain's life. After Isaac's final pathetic words, it was over. Game over. Subaru turned his back on the corpse and vanished into the shadows. He had done enough for one day. Not every enemy deserved such a personal execution. "Let this life count as payment for borrowing this body," Subaru whispered to the silent wind. 2 hours later at a cafe, the staff stared. Subaru looked like a hardcore fanboy. "What is with that outfit? He looks like a crazed Subaru fanatic," they whispered in judgment. Subaru kept his face hidden. Anonymity was his greatest weapon. Suddenly a woman approached his table. "Sorry I'm late." She was visibly trembling. "I'm Wika, your new manager from the streaming guild." Subaru stood to greet her. "I'm the new streamer, Subaru." Wika's eyes sparkled with pure joy. She scrutinized him closely, her heart racing. He looks exactly like the legend from 20 years ago. Maybe he really survived. If he wants to hide behind a mask, I will keep his secret. "Is something wrong with me?" Subaru asked. Wika jumped, waving her hands in a total panic. "No, nothing at all. Let's get down to business immediately." She tried to act professional. Her boss had warned her to be perfect. One mistake and she would lose his trust forever. But she felt she had already failed. She nearly clawed her hair out in pure frustration. To break the tension, she blurted out, "Were you always a massive Subaru fan too?" Subaru nodded. "A diehard one. But I'm not the real legend, so please just relax." She didn't listen. "I'm a superfan too, and now I'm officially your #1 supporter." Then she poured out a flood of words. "I've watched you since your very first stream. The bats, the trials. You were incredible. My palms were sweating when you fought the Titan. That movement was God tier. It was so satisfying to watch you dominate that giant." Subaru felt a chill. She was not just a fan, she was a high-intensity stalker. She remembered his feats better than he did. Subaru forced a very awkward, dry laugh. "So, you've really been watching since I had 0 viewers." He could hardly believe it. Remembered his journey more clearly than Subaru himself. Subaru gave a hollow laugh. "Back when I had 0 viewers, thousands were already watching my stream. Honestly, it's a bit creepy, but maybe this is destiny. I rushed to headquarters and begged for your signature." That was just her fangirl side speaking. Suddenly, her tone turned professional. She needed Subaru's trust before closing the deal. Wika laid out the contract, knowing his time was precious. She dived straight into the major details. Ads, exclusive events, and viral clips. The Subaru brand was ready for a massive global expansion. Subaru asked, "What's my part in this?" She smiled. "Just keep streaming. We handle the rest." It felt too good to be true. Were guilds always this generous to their rising stars? Then it clicked. His mastery of thunder magic made him a god-tier asset worth every penny. He wasn't just a recruit. The company's highest executives saw him as their golden ticket. Subaru wondered if every manager was like her. Wika blushed, feeling a bit out of place. The others are more reliable experts, she admitted, though she was still a dedicated professional. Subaru didn't mean it that way. Wika's aura was far more powerful than any ordinary hunter's. Was the current hunter level so insane that even elite warriors were working desk jobs now? This meant his future enemies would be monsters. He had to level up even faster now. Wika was spiraling. Did she seem incompetent? What if he walked away from the deal? Would she have to use her own willpower to seal this contract? Suddenly, Subaru reached out. I can sense your sincerity. I'm in. Let's make history together, Subaru said with a smile. Wika almost broke down in tears. No one had ever placed their faith in her so quickly. With the contract signed, Subaru went live the next day ready to tackle the new trial. 700 viewers were already waiting. Subaru blinked. He'd only been live for a second. Was the guild already running ads? Exactly as he guessed, Wika had been working overtime. She'd rallied every friend, relative, and coworker to blow up his stream across every platform. Subaru chuckled. Joining this guild was the best move he'd ever made. Now let's play. The legendary stage was finally set. Inside a nearby tent, a heavy, restless silence filled the air. A dozen shadowy figures gathered in the dark, plotting the downfall of the massive giants. Perilous turned to the scarred veteran, asking if their mysterious savior had finally arrived yet. Not yet, he grunted. Suddenly a voice broke through the tension of the meeting. Is it wise to trust a non-knight? Many doubted a commoner could slay such behemoths. Unless they witnessed it themselves, they refused to believe they weren't being played for fools. Shut your mouths, Perilous roared. How dare you insult the man who saved us all? Sir Perilous, a familiar voice cut through. There stood Subaru right at the tent's entrance. Perilous rushed over immediately. Are you healed? Subaru assured him he was back in peak form. He didn't need any backup. One warrior watched him with a gaze filled with suspicion. A new viewer commented, he killed the giant leader. He looks weak and that mask is sketchy. Subaru shifted and whispered back, you just can't handle the fact that a masked stranger won. Wika had taught him this trick. By striking a specific pose, he could manipulate his stream settings. This secret frequency allowed only his viewers to hear his voice, keeping the bystanders in the dark. It was a perfect tool for dealing with annoying haters in this dull meeting. Chat exploded. Don't get cocky, kid. Then an elderly warrior stepped forward to introduce himself. The old man was named Dale. Subaru greeted him with the respect a veteran deserved. Dale described the village defense where everyone was crushed by something truly monstrous. Something worse than giants. Dale explained that true giants once challenged the gods themselves. After being sealed, they vanished. Today's giants are just weak echoes of their original power. But the beast Subaru just executed was different. It was a terrifying glimpse of the legend. The stream has begun. Whispers filled the tent. Could they really be facing the nightmare from the 8th floor? Suffocating dread paralyzed the group. They were utterly helpless against this new colossus. Subaru brushed it off. If a new monster appears, it dies simple as that. His calm stilled their hearts, yet a toxic viewer sniped from the livestream. You're dead meat, the hater jeered. But Sir Perilous silenced them with a roar. He spoke of an ancient myth, a sky-piercing peak hiding a fragment of lightning. The relic awaited its true master, and Perilous knew that man was Subaru. Hellfire consumed the village. Chaos erupted as giants marched through the screaming flames. Leading the slaughter was a long-haired titan, howling for his fallen son's vengeance. He snatched a soldier like a toy, his eyes burning with murderous intent. With one casual squeeze, bone and steel crumbled. Human blood would buy peace. Watching from afar, Subaru felt a chill. This beast was a different breed. The livestream exploded in panic. Why was this guy so impossibly huge? Subaru gripped the reins tight. His mind was a storm of desperate calculations. Spam filled the screen. Give up. This mission is suicide. Run for your life. Perilous' warning echoed. 3 days until the giant arrives. 3 days to survive. Without the thunder, there's only death. Obey the plan or lose everything. Soon Subaru reached the Millennium Peak. To slay a god, he needed lightning. The real test had begun. He wasn't the strongest yet, but his spirit blazed. In this tower, no trial can stop me. He winced. A slip of the tongue. The chat went wild. That line, that arrogance. It was disturbingly familiar. They searched their memories, feeling the weight of a legend they couldn't name. Mission notifications flashed gold. The world was watching and donating in droves. Standing at the mountain's base, Subaru searched for the hidden spark of legend. But the rock was impenetrable. How do you find a ghost in a mountain? The fragment was a mystery, a weapon, a spell, or perhaps a soul. Historians knew nothing. The legend was a puzzle with half the pieces missing. Only one truth remained: the one who wields lightning can erase an army. Elsewhere, Wika's phone buzzed. It was the guild president demanding a status update. Success. The contract was signed. A boom of laughter erupted from the line. Excellent work, the president praised. Prepare yourself for the next hunt. Relieved, Wika collapsed onto her bed. It was finally time for Subaru's stream. It was her daily ritual, but as the broadcast loaded, her blood ran cold. Subaru spoke the words, "In this tower, no trial can stop me." Wika bolted upright, her heart hammering. He actually said it out loud. Those were the words of the hero from 20 years ago, the forbidden legacy. The world would notice. Meanwhile, Subaru ignored the storm he'd just started. Electric arcs danced across his skin. He was ready to test a theory. He pulled back, channeling every ounce of mana into a single point. A thunderous impact rocked the earth. The mountain screamed under his fist. Debris rained down. Subaru smirked as the rock face began to crack. He felt the resonance. The lightning was calling to its rightful owner. A hidden portal shimmered into existence. Subaru stepped into the unknown void. The viewers watched in stunned silence. The impossible door was finally opening. He reached out. The moment his fingers brushed the stone, destiny awakened. As Subaru touched the stone door, the system flared. Lightning roared to life. His greed wedge fought the thunderous recoil while Subaru condensed pure lightning energy. The secret lay within. That mysterious pulling sensation was a desperate, ancient call. His answer: pure dominance. He'd blast the door open with overwhelming electrical force. Violent thunder slammed into the crack, eroding the stone with relentless, high-voltage strikes. The door groaned and shuddered before a gap finally tore open wide. This hidden trial was deep. Without that magnetic pull, it had remained forever lost. Subaru stepped inside, ready to walk the path of echoes through the thunder. The stone door sealed shut. Success was now the only way back out. Meanwhile, Perilous faced a council of skeptical officers, debating their final desperate gamble. "Can he really master the thunder?" An elder asked, his voice trembling slightly. Perilous stood firm. "If Subaru fails, then humanity has no future left anyway." The old man gasped at Perilous' blind faith in this mysterious, powerful outsider. "His strength speaks for itself," Perilous stated. But a hollow voice suddenly echoed. "Thunder won't save us. We're all dead men walking," an officer screamed out. He'd seen the giant's true terror and knew their hope was a lie. "Don't break yet," Perilous urged. "We must believe in that man's impossible miracle." The officer collapsed, sobbing. "You don't understand. That monster is an unstoppable god." His fingers were rubbed raw from fear. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the camp. The ground buckled, shattering cups as a panicked soldier burst through the tent. "Emergency. The giants have launched their full-scale assault. We're under attack right now." Pure terror gripped the room. Meanwhile, Subaru descended deeper into the silent cave. Every nerve was on fire as he navigated the darkness, sensing an unseen trap. "It looks empty," a viewer typed, "but the lightning is moving at light speed." Before it strikes, lightning is just invisible, lethal energy. Ordinary eyes are totally useless. Even Subaru couldn't track it. The electrical charge moved faster than human perception. He slowly closed his eyes, sensing the flow of the world through pure instinct. 3 days later, a colossal force of thunder finally called from the cave's heart. Subaru's eyes snapped open. He grabbed a stone and hurled it into the void. The stone hit a wall of invisible bolts and was instantly vaporized into dust. The stream viewers watched in horror as the air itself became a deadly weapon. Cold sweat drenched Subaru. The danger here was off the charts. This is suicide. This trial tested pure endurance. One wrong step meant a painful electric death. Donors flooded the chat. "Reach the top or lose your thunder skills forever." The mission rewards hit 3,000 points. The world was watching his every move. Subaru steeled his heart and stepped forward. Arcs of lightning danced across his skin. "I won't fail," he vowed, thanking his supporters before diving into the electrical storm. Miles away, Shu was glued to the stream, watching his hero face certain death. Suddenly, Reina burst into the room. Shu fumbled frantically, trying to hide his phone. "Hiding something dirty," she teased. Shu's heart nearly beat out of his chest. "My eyes are just tired," he stammered, his face flushing a deep, guilty red. Reina didn't buy it, rambling about weird myths while she hid her own secrets. She was dying to watch the stream too, fighting her obsession with Subaru's journey. The tension was maddening. Shu just wanted her gone so he could keep watching. He had to see if Subaru would conquer the thunder or turn to ash. Watching the stream, Shu awkwardly asked her stay duration. Reina was baffled he'd never pushed her away like this. "Mind if I crash on the sofa?" Reina asked, confused. Panicking, Shu cranked his voice up a notch to hide the audio. He was desperately trying to repel her. "Reina, dinner, grilled fish or steak?" he hollered like a madman. His voice hit like ultrasonic waves, nearly bursting Reina's eardrums. "Stay as long as you want. The sofa's yours." He was white-knuckling the volume button, terrified that even a whisper of the stream audio might leak out. Reina sensed something was totally off. His behavior was way beyond weird today. There was definitely a secret. Giving up, she turned to exit. "Fine, whatever, do what you want." As she walked away, Shu finally exhaled. A wave of relief washed over him. He even threw out a fake courtesy. "Eat some bread if you're hungry. Nap if you need." But Reina was done with him. She slammed the door, leaving Shu alone with his thoughts. "That was way too close," he muttered. Having avoided being caught red-handed, he dove back into the live stream. If Reina saw him watching Subaru, she'd explode. He couldn't even fathom the nuclear argument that would follow. Shu looked lonely. He knew that if the roles were flipped, Subaru would never have forgotten about them. Watching closely, he realized this streamer was a mirror image of the boss. The resemblance was getting downright eerie. From his speech patterns to his cold personality, it was uncanny. Yet one glaring difference remained between them. Scrambling for points just wasn't the boss's style. That man would never put his life on the line for cash. Shu chuckled softly. "Who are you really? You're a dead ringer for him." Lost in thought, he was wide open. He didn't notice the hand resting on his shoulder. Turning slowly, he froze. Reina had doubled back to ambush him. She caught him completely off guard, her expression dark and menacing. "I knew something was fishy about you. Did you think I was blind? If you want to trick me, try again in 100 years, Shu." Meanwhile, thunder crashed down on Subaru with every step. As the lightning surged through him, a notification appeared. Progress 2.3%. This sensation was nostalgic. He'd weathered lightning strikes countless times before. Taking another step, he found it ironic how friendly the system was being so direct about his progress. The viewers were losing their minds in the chat. "Why isn't he running?" Subaru just sighed, his focus narrowing. He whispered that he couldn't chat anymore. Steeling his resolve, he pressed forward into the heart of the storm. For him, reaching the finish line was inevitable. The lightning was brutal, however charring his very flesh black. His palms were scorched, but nothing could halt his advance. High above, Hawkeyes watched the stream with rapt attention. Since the moment Subaru went live, Hawkeyes hadn't blinked. The president had made it clear Subaru was the priority. They had gone to extreme lengths to secure a collaboration with him. This was a high-stakes move for everyone. It's been ages since President John personally handled business. This recruitment was a massive deal for the organization. John had preached this to Hawkeyes repeatedly. Solo streaming is only half the battle in this commercial world. Hawkeyes had only smirked then. He knew popularity only attracted specific types of players to their ranks. After all the corporate talk, John's real message was simple. Subaru wasn't just some streamer. He was a predator. He was a true hunter. Even as a rookie streamer, he broadcasted with the cold gaze of a master observer. John saw a golden opportunity here. They had to catch this comet before it blazed past them into the unknown. They needed to ride his momentum and ascend to the heavens together. Those words had truly struck a chord. Stunned for a moment, Hawkeye's eyes soon flashed with golden ambition. "The boss is right. This is my chance." He craved that stardom more than anything. He wanted to shine in the highest heavens, a star among legends. Since his debut, that had been his singular driving dream. He reached out as if grasping for that distant peak. He wondered if he could ever reach such heights. But suddenly he snapped back to reality. He was still on the clock. "Get it together," he muttered, refocusing on the stream. But what he saw next made his blood run cold. He wished he hadn't looked. The moment his eyes met the screen, his entire expression shifted into pure shock. Is he insane? Where does he get the nerve? Under the crushing weight of the lightning, Subaru pushed on. Despite the heavens trying to crush him, Subaru had covered massive ground. His body was paying a heavy price. His skin was peeling away under the electric onslaught, his arms charred pitch black. Yet he didn't even flinch. Despite the agonizing injuries, Subaru remained silent. With grim determination, he lifted his foot for the next step. The instant his foot struck the ground, violent lightning erupted, surging directly into his soul. Subaru summoned every ounce of strength to endure the shock. This strike was deeper and more brutal. After agonizing moments, he gasped for air, realizing the stronger the strike, the deeper it pierced him. He had reached his limit. A lethal amount of electricity now swirled dangerously within his trembling frame. He felt the raw power flooding his central meridians and every minor pathway in his body. System progress 20.7%. At 1/5 progress, the lightning triggered a forced evolution. This was a brutal, agonizing marrow cleansing. With each pulse, lightning fused with his body to become magic, while some energy flickered away. He had to seize it, forcing that volatile power to become his own legendary strength. 2 central meridians bridged his entire being, while countless minor channels reached every hidden corner. Opening these pathways meant the power of thunder had successfully claimed every single cell. By enduring this pain, Subaru bypassed the slow purification process, taking a lethal shortcut to power. Blood trickled from his lips as internal damage mounted. He could feel his body breaking apart. Usually magic would handle this safely, but borrowing raw lightning offered a faster, deadlier path. The agony was beyond words. Behind him, a grim trail of crimson marked his path through the trial. Subaru never wavered, pushing forward with a relentless spirit. He knew he couldn't stop until the end. He spat out another mouthful of gore. Meanwhile, Wika watched the stream, her face pale with worry. The footage alone revealed the sheer cruelty of this stage. It was a hellish sight to behold. Even Wika noticed he was prying open his own vessels, using nothing but raw external electricity. She had never seen such madness. He wasn't using magic, just sheer brutal willpower. The level of suffering involved exceeded anything the human mind could possibly imagine. Any normal warrior would have blacked out instantly. In this tower, the pain is terrifyingly real. Wika's hands trembled. Why was he risking everything? Why was he pushing himself to the brink? She only prayed for his safe return and that his mind wouldn't shatter from the trauma. System notifications chimed. Progress reached 50 minor channels. His evolution was well underway. Thunder power surged within, granting mana +1. Suddenly, a wave of crushing sorrow hit him. He thought of his former arrogant self. He felt no better than the murderer who killed them. On the 8th floor, he had boasted that no trial could ever stand in his way. He had promised his team they were safe. He told them as long as he led, victory was certain. His comrades had given him their absolute unreserved trust. They believed in their captain completely. Rina and Shu had the deepest faith in him. They were the ones who knew him best. But his arrogance had led them straight to a slaughter. His pride was their death warrant. If he hadn't been so reckless, if his conceit hadn't pushed them, they would still be here. I am the source of this sin, he thought. One day I'll skin Itsuki alive. The image of Itsuki's face fueled his rage, forcing his broken body to take another step. I don't deserve to lead, he whispered. Suddenly, Subaru's body collapsed heavily onto the cold ground. He was a mass of wounds, his vision blurring as he slipped toward total unconsciousness. But when he opened his eyes, the world had changed. Subaru froze. Where was he? He felt like his old self again. Looking back, he saw his former team camping nearby. They were all there, the original Blue Eyes members. Subaru rushed toward them through the tall grass. Was this a dream? He didn't care. They had to be alive. They had to be safe. He approached the two at the back, tears welling in his eyes. He wanted to scream in joy. "I have nightmares every night," he choked out, but they turned around with ice-cold glares. "Subaru," they said, "you were the one who drove us into that dead end." He stood paralyzed. The girl beside them spoke next. "You promised to protect us, so why did you fail?" Witness our pathetic deaths. Seeing Chino's expression, Subaru's pupils contracted in pure horror. Spectral flames engulfed them as they encroached. Subaru tried to explain, but his throat felt clamped shut. Not a single word escaped. At that moment they were like vengeful spirits claiming his soul. Watching their burning bodies, Subaru felt his heart shatter. "Don't leave me. Please stay." He lunged forward, desperate to reach them. But his hands passed through empty air. He couldn't save anyone. Subaru collapsed in despair, his voice cracking from the strain. "Don't go. It was all my fault." Suddenly, a blinding flash exploded in his mind. Only then did he realize it was a lie. This was a mental illusion triggered by his awakening. He had nearly lost his mind to deviation. Progress hit 97%. Evolution in progress. Thunder surged through his veins. Mana increased after that trial. Subaru actually wanted to thank the designer, to whoever created this hellish nightmare. "Thanks for reminding me why I'm alive. Itsuki, just wait. I'm going to kill you." Elsewhere, the defenders fought the white-haired titan. This was a desperate battle for the city's survival. A massive shadow loomed over them. As its true form appeared, the soldiers' blood ran cold. This beast was beyond them. Even a combined attack would only make them a snack. A soldier's voice trembled. "This has to be some kind of sick joke, right?" "So the masked guy really did run away," Pilia growled. "Our benefactor will return," another countered. Fury burned in his chest. "You bet the village's fate on a stranger, and now you doubt him." Perilous felt a sting of shame. "And you call yourselves knights. You're just cowards afraid of dying." A hand landed on his shoulder. "You're right," Dale said, turning to the trembling crowd. "They are cowards. But remember, protecting this village is our responsibility, not his." With a grim look, he unsheathed his blade. "Knights aren't the ones being protected. We are the ones who protect. If you have courage, follow me." Dale charged forward. Though old, his footsteps shook the earth like iron. Perilous and the brave few followed him. Dale roared, "Today we die with the honor of true knights." Meanwhile, Subaru's progress reached 99%. His body was at its absolute limit. Could he endure the final 1%? A mysterious glowing bead floated before him. It was the final step, but Subaru's fatigue had soared to 97. At 100, he would die. His mask was shattered and blood wept from his eyes. Only one step left. He refused to fall here. The system issued a crimson warning. Danger stamina depleted. Moving is fatal. But Subaru ignored the warning and pushed forward. Elsewhere, Dale slammed his foot down. The old knight would hold the front line today. Even if he died, it would be for a purpose. Strength surged into his weathered arm. He swung his sword through the giant's arm, sending a massive spray of crimson flying. The beast let out a harrowing shriek. It had never felt such agonizing pain before. It lashed out, but Dale dodged with veteran grace. The titan was slow and clumsy. Seeing the opening, Perilous charged with his sword. "Dale, hold on. I'm here to back you up." He poured every ounce of fury into his blade. "Leave the rest to me," he leaped. Vaulting off the monster's knee, he soared toward its massive, vulnerable head. That was the killing blow. In that moment, Perilous looked like a divine warrior under moonlight. His blade descended biting deep into the monster's skull. With one flash, the head fell. The titan's massive body crashed down. No one expected Perilous to be this powerful. Perilous landed amidst the dust. The knights cheered, praising their legendary leader's victory. "We did it! The beast is down!" They rushed the corpse, stabbing it in a frenzy. "Die, you filthy monster!" Perilous looked at Dale. "Thanks for the push. We can finally breathe." But Dale's expression remained grave. "No," he whispered. "This isn't over yet. That's the beast." While soldiers mocked, thinking the giants were just pathetic weaklings. Their smirks vanished instantly. A massive heel crushed a soldier's head like a grape. He was pulverized in seconds. As the dust cleared, Perilous and Dale stared in horror. "That's it!" Dale screamed. Perilous realized this monster was in a whole different league. "It's unbeatable, everyone retreat." Meanwhile, Subaru finally reached the radiant sphere of light. Hobbling forward, he grabbed the orb. Instantly, the evolution progress hit 100%. "I'll finish this," he muttered. "Then I'll offer Suki's head as a tribute to you." Jagged bolts of lightning gathered around him, all spiraling into the center of the orb. Suddenly, a massive electrical pillar swallowed him. Even Subaru wasn't ready for this agony. Though pierced by lightning, Subaru didn't fall. The storm settled. Evolution was finally complete. But Subaru's eyes suddenly widened. He felt a violent surge erupting deep within his body. Wild currents were crashing through his veins as if trying to shatter his entire soul. System notification. Fine channel evolution complete. Magic amplification increased by 20%. Activation speed up 20%. All stats +2. Subaru couldn't even say a word. That final strike was a total cheap shot. He didn't even get to brag online. With a heavy thud, Subaru collapsed. He slipped into a deep sleep as his world darkened. The system flashed one last time. Stage 6 legend rank has been successfully cleared.